الجبال ما لها يومئذ تحدث أخبارها بأن ربك أوحى لها يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا ليروا أعمالهم فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for attending today. On behalf of the Council of European Jamaats, I'd like to welcome you to our Hajj workshop. Just a very quick announcement from myself. Today's session is split into about 3 parts. We'll start off with a brief history of some of the key sites in Medina and Makkah, followed by some fiqh by Sheikh Abbas Jafar, and then this will be followed by the spiritual aspects of Hajj by Dr. Masuma Jafar. Finally, at about 12:30, we'll have Dr. Nizar Mirali to talk to us about the physical aspects of Hajj and cover some of the health aspects as well. So it just gives you a full overall guidance. Just a final note from me before I hand over. This is our 3rd year we've held this workshop, and it's always helpful to get feedback from yourselves so that we can continue developing and improving the program. So shortly we'll be handing out evaluation forms. With request, these are completely anonymous and only take about 2 or 3 minutes to complete. Before you leave, if you could please complete the evaluation forms and just put them on the desk there. We'll pick them up, and any feedback you have, we'll be glad to receive it. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Sheikh Abbas and Masma Bai Jafar. Thank you very much.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So welcome everybody to the Hajj preparation seminar, if you like, and what we want to do today, inshallah, in the next couple of hours, is to give you an idea of what to expect. I am sure that all of you are reasonably familiar with what's going to happen, even if it's only theoretical. Just out of interest, how many people here are going for the very first time? Wow, mashallah, mashallah. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us all, inshallah, with this, and we pray to Him that we reach the Holy Land safely and we are able to perform our wajibat in a way that is acceptable to Him, inshallah wa ta'ala. And we have been chosen out of a whole lot of people, and we need to be humbled by that. We need to be cognizant of the fact that, you know, every year 2.5 billion, 3 million people go for Hajj. And, you know, the hadith tells us that, that when Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, thank you so much, built the Kaaba as directed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with his son Ismail, then he Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, now that the house is ready, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ. This ayah is in the Quran. وَأَذِّن بِالنَّاسِ فِي الْحَجِّ يَأْتُوكَ رِجَالًا وَعَلَى كُلِّ ضَامِرٍ يَأْتِينَ مِنْ كُلِّ فَجٍّ عَمِيقٍ. Call for people to come for Hajj. Now obviously a man calling, how loud can he call? He's standing in Mecca and he's calling. This may be a few people. We try that. If we think about it, if I sit here and call without a microphone, maybe 5 people hear me. Right? It wasn't meant to do that. Imam Sadiq sallallahu alayhi says that it was a special call using the spiritual power of a great prophet. And it was a call that was heard by those who are yet to be born, those all souls in a sort of like subliminal way perhaps heard the call. And Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said that so much energy was used by Ibrahim alayhi salam to send out that call that his very feet sunk into the stone on which he was standing. That was the kind of call he sent. And then Imam Sadiq said that the people who heard this call, who responded to it, they said, Labbaik, O caller. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed them to come to Hajj. These were people yet to be born into the world. And those who called twice, Imam Sadiq said, Allah called them twice. And those who called more times, Allah called them. So each and every one of you, at some point, you may remember it or not, I don't know, but you said Labbaik when Ibrahim alayhi salam said, come to Hajj. And then after that, in the month of Ramadan, we prayed, and we used to say, Allahumma rzuqna hajja baytika al-haram. And maybe there was a part of us, whether we realized or not, that was sincere enough for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it. And so He allowed us to come. And we need to realize that the first thing is that we have to be very grateful. It isn't something that you just decided to sign up for and it happened. There was something else at play there. There was an invitation. And that is why you managed to get to this point, and inshallah you will manage to finish the Hajj and stand at Arafat and be forgiven for everything that has happened till now and be given a fresh start, which is a unique gift by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you will be representing the Muslimin. 3 million of us will go, and that 1.5 billion of us, 99.99% will be sitting at home. 0.001% will be there. So it's a great honor. What we want to do is, initially in the first part, to just talk about some of the fiqh aspects and maybe some of the spiritual aspects that are related to that. And if time permits, then we will look at detailed history of some of these sites. Otherwise, they will be covered, inshallah, of course, when you are there and when you are at the sites themselves. So, shall we start? Yeah? Okay, so, yes, please go on. Feel free to make notes. If you want later on, the slides can be made available to you. And also feel free to ask questions, at the end of each session. Sorry. So we'll talk about, say, one aspect or one rukn, and then we'll open it up for questions on that rukn alone, and then we move on, inshallah, that way. And hopefully you get a much clearer idea what's happening, what's going to happen.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, so just to add on to what Abbas has said, I think it's really important to recognize that we responded when we were in the world of the souls, yet where we're going now. This is when Allah has called us. So it just to reflect on the fact that we are ready for some sort of growth. We're ready for an opportunity to grow closer to Allah. So actually have that at the back of your mind throughout the whole Hajj, that you have been called to the house now, although you responded in the world of the souls. So you're ready for the growth now. So there has to be some sort of major change. For those of you who are going for the first time, this may be your one and only Hajj. So you need to make it count. Hajj is wajib only once because there is enough to take away from it for a lifetime. but it is recommended to go again and again. And like Abbas said, in the dua we ask for the opportunity to go again and again, because we need reminders. We need to be forgiven. And every time you stand on the plains of Arafah and ask for forgiveness, sincerely we are told we are forgiven. So, but we should go with the mindset that this may be my only Hajj. And for those of us who have gone previously, this may be my last one. You know, the number of times I called, maybe this is the last time I'm going, so I need to make this Hajj count. It's really important that I have that mindset. Also, when you're there, think about the fact that you're constantly reflecting. Don't make it a tick box exercise. We get so pulled into the fiqh that we're so concerned about doing it a specific way. And yes, it has to be done a specific way, but that shouldn't be our only focus. There should be something, okay, what am I taking back from this? What am I learning from this? What is Allah trying to teach me? What is the spirituality of the action? So it's really important to remember that. And we have from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that an hour of reflection is better than a year of worship. So if we're constantly reflecting on these holy lands, we will get so much more out of it. Also, I think from the 8th Imam alayhi salam, we have worship is not an excess of praying and fasting, rather it is a reflection on Allah's creation. So again, reflection is the point that I want you to be thinking about throughout when you're looking at the spirituality. The last hadith that I want to mention on this page, which I think is probably the most powerful, is from Imam Ali alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, where he says, Allah has made Hajj an institution to judge the submission of human mind towards his might and a sign of their belief and respect to his greatness. Allah is not only in Hajj. Reflect on why we are so particular in Hajj. Every single thing. Okay, how much does my left shoulder have to face the Kaaba? How many times do I go around? What if I go around more than 7? What if I forget? What if I do it this way? What if I do it that way? We're so particular on the fiqh, and that's amazing. We should be. Why are we not so particular when we come back? Why are we not asking the same questions about everything when we're back home? What does Allah say about this? How much do I have to do on this? Why do we, when we're back home, why is it, but this makes no sense to me? But this doesn't fit in here. It's as if Allah only fits in when we're in Hajj, and He doesn't fit in when we're here. So look at the way that Imam has said, it's an institution to judge the submission of the human mind, because we think we are our minds, and we think we are superior because of our minds. But when it comes to Allah, we are nothing. So we need to actually submit with our minds to Him, and just know that whatever He has told us, it is for our benefit, and we need to just submit. When He tells us to jump, how high? Not why, but how high. Yeah, and we need to constantly be thinking about whatever we're learning in the Hajj, bring it back home. It's really important to do that. Okay, so the preparation is in 3 stages. I know Akhtabah has been talking about the physical preparation, where you should be doing so much walking and everything, and it's important that you do that. But that is not enough in itself. If you're doing even if you're physically fit, if you're not mentally and spiritually there, the physical fitness will not help you. Okay, so it's important to be physically ready, as well as mentally and spiritually. Mentally is getting the right mindset. You're going there, think about why you're going there, why you've been called now. What is the mindset that you're going with? Yeah, even when you're packing, think about the fact that what are you actually packing? Look at your bags. What are you actually packing? And then they'll tell you what sort of mindset you're going with. Spiritually, we're going to be talking about that today as well, through each of the rukn. It's not a holiday exertion. There will be hardship and inconvenience, but it's about growth. Growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. Growth happens when you come out of your comfort zone. And because Allah is our host and He's called us for growth, He will keep pushing us out of our comfort zone. So every time something happens which sort of throws you off, say Alhamdulillah. And then say, what is Allah trying to teach me here? What is the growth in this? Why did this happen in this way? Bring it back to yourself and remember that everything is happening for the purpose of growth. Allah is pushing us to our limit in order to allow us to grow. And He will not push you past what you can handle. So whatever situation you're in, you will be able to handle it. The other thing the other thing to remember is that everyone that is there is also Allah's guest. Now, if I was to invite you to my house, and I invited other people to my house as well, whether you like the other person or not, whether you get on with the other person or not, whether you agree with the other person or not, you have to treat them the way a guest should be treated. We don't have the right to put the guest of Allah down in any way. We need to show respect. We need to show our akhlaq. And it's important to remember that. And also, if they do things, if someone does something to you, Allah is your host. He will recompense you that. So if you were to come to my house and someone was rude to you or said something or did something, I would feel so bad as a host, and I would make sure I made it up to you. And again, Allah will. Yeah, so remember that it doesn't matter who pushes, who shoves, who does anything. That's not important. Just leave it to Allah. Yeah. Just constantly keep reminding yourself that you are, we are all the guests of Allah.
Okay, good. Are you asking questions? Or? Okay. All right. Okay, so then preparation for this trip. Please do not wait till you reach Medina to start saying, okay, let me open the books that they gave me and now see what am I about to do here. Preparation is now. Should have been before as well. Those who prepare well for the Hajj, they get a lot more out of the Hajj. Those who come along, inshallah, you will have guides there who will help you, but you may find that once Hajj begins, it goes fast. And before you know it, Umrah is over. Umrah is over in an hour and a half, right? There isn't enough time to bring the mind to bear on what you want out of it and what you're expecting and so on. All that has to happen now, written down, so I'm walking into these wajibat. These are kind of things I need to be thinking about. And then afterwards, do a little bit of debriefing, whether personal one or with friends, to say, what did we get out of this? This will ensure that you have the fuel from that Hajj that will last you a lifetime, right? Otherwise, it won't be as productive. Inshallah, it will be always good, better than nothing, but you want to make it as best as it can be. Going over from what Masuma said, Hajj is made up of two parts, and they are the strangest things you will ever do. You have to ask yourself, why is Allah making me go around a building? Why is Allah making me go between two mountains? Why is Allah, making me throw stones at rocks? It's very strange. It's very different. And there has to be a reason. One of them you heard. It's about submission. When we come here, we say, this doesn't make sense to me, so I'm not doing it. When it makes sense to me, I'll wear the hijab. When it makes sense to me, I'll stop, listening to music. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, look, it's about my will and your submission. It's a very important lesson. The first part of Hajj is the Umrah. Is Umrah at-Tamattu. The second part is the actual Hajj at-Tamattu. The Umrah is a good way to get used to what's the main event. The main event is Hajj. In fact, the Umrah is an excuse really to get into Makkah. However, it is wajib. So we will talk about Umrah a little bit more detail, because most of the other stuff is repeated for Hajj as well. When you come to Medina, I think all groups, Nasin Bhai is going to Medina first? Yes, so it makes it easier. We'll keep it simple. So the groups will be in Medina. They will go to Masjid Shajara to wear their ihram, and there are 5 things that are wajib in Umrah Tamattu. The first is wearing the ihram, which will happen at the miqat. Miqat means a point, a station, and there are several dotted all around Makkah, which is a point you cannot cross without entering into the state of ihram. You cannot get closer to Makkah than that without entering formally into ihram. The miqat for those coming from Medina is Masjid Shajara, Zul Hulayfa, where the Prophet is more blessed because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in both his Hajjis and his Umrah wore his ihram from Medina, from this mosque. We will wear our ihram there. The second part of Umrah that is wajib is tawaf of the Holy Kaaba. The third one is the salat of tawaf, the namaz of tawaf, 2 rakat. The fourth one is sa'i, which means walking between the mountains of Safa and Marwa 7 times. And the fifth thing is taqsir, to reduce your hair or your nails, or yes, your hair or your nails, and that is the end of Umrah. So I will start with Ihram. Now, before we start with Ihram, we want to talk about Niyyah. Niyyah is something that people get very flustered about, and it's not complex at all. People say, so sometimes people get Niyyat cards, and they're reading them, and they're very, very anxious that they get it right. And they say, hold on guys, I'm still doing my Niyyah card, and they're reading it. And I don't blame them, because everybody's worried to get it right. It's a one-shot deal, you want to get it right. However, you know what the irony of it is? I feel that sometimes the person who's reading every word hasn't done the Niyyah at all, actually. Right? It's just read a word. Niyyah means, why are you doing this? If I was to stop you right then and said, what are you doing and why are you doing it? If you can answer me instantly, that is your Niyyah. And that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, your intention. So your niyyah has always, of course, got to be qurbatan ilallah. I do this to get closer to God. But what am I doing to get closer to God? So for example, I am wearing this ihram for Umrah Tamattu, for Hajjatul Islam. Hajjatul Islam if it is your first Hajj. Qurbatan ilallah, to get closer to God. These are words. I tell you, if you keep the thought in your mind, it's enough. If you want to verbalize it so that you are more, focused, no problem. The verbalization isn't what makes the niyyah. It is the thought in the mind is very important, right? So if it's your first Hajj, well, you will make this niyyah that I'm doing my ihram for Umrah, for Hajjatul Islam, wajib qurbatan ilallah. If it is your second Hajj, you could make a mustahab niyyah. People, that I want to do this Hajj for the thawab of, and then you can make lots of names. You've been to Hajj, alhamdulillah, 2-3 times. Now you think, okay, I want to do this one for my parents. It doesn't have to be just confined to 2 or 3 names. It can be, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, if a person adds 1,000 names, this is hadith, to his list in his mind for whom he wants, none of them will be reduced in the thawab they get. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is generous, and his bounties are limitless. So the only caveat is, if you're going like that, then you need to make your niyyah of the names from the beginning. You don't have to repeat each time, especially if you got 1,000. Don't repeat them each time, because if you start saying, I'm praying 2 rakat salatul tawaf for 1, 2, 3, 4, they'll throw you out. By the time you finish your 1,000, there's no room. Once you make the niyyah, you cannot add. That's the only thing, okay? So if you make the niyyah in the first rukn, which is the first wajib thing you will do is wear the ihram in shajara. At that time, you make the niyyah. Take your time. We have plenty of time. List out the names. People do read names. That's fine. Then you cannot add to those names by the time you get to Makkah and say, oh, I forgot dad. No, dad next time, inshallah. Okay? So this is the thing. Now, the third thing is, no, I'm going for Hajj. I've been before, but you know what? I went 20 years ago. I went 15 years ago. We didn't have any lessons then. We just winged it, and I'm not sure if it was accepted or not accepted. So which niyat should I keep? Well, that's your niyyah. Ya Allah, I came 20 years ago. I wasn't sure what I did. Inshallah, it was correct. Maybe it was not correct. If it's not correct, let this Hajj suffice for it. That niyyah is enough. That is your niyyah qurbatan ilallah. Okay. Ihram then. Yeah.
Okay. The niyyah, there are 2 aspects to the niyyah. It should be done with exactly the way that Allah wants, and only for His pleasure. So there should be nothing else. It should be for nothing else but His pleasure. Yeah. So only for His pleasure and in the way He tells us to do it. And you need to have both of that. So that's why I'm saying the fiqh is important, because we need to know how He wants us to do it. But what is also important is that we do it only for His pleasure. So there should be no other reason why we're doing this. So throughout the Hajj, obviously it's easier to keep it only for His pleasure when we're doing the tawaf and the sa'i and things like that. But even when we're helping someone else, even when we're talking to each other, whatever we're doing, the niyyah should be that it is only for His pleasure and in the way He tells us to do it. And if we do it in that way, then we're told that when we come back from Hajj, for 100 days, we are in the protection of Hajj. This means that either we're not inclined towards sin when we come back, or if we do commit a sin through forgetfulness or, without, realizing or whatever, then it's not written for us. Okay, so this can only happen if the niyyah is done correctly. If the niyyah is not done correctly, then we will not come back changed people. It's like, again, if you come to my house as a guest and I lay out the food and you don't eat from it, you're going to have, when you get back home, you're going to be hungry. So you came hungry and you left hungry. If I go to Hajj and my niyyah is not correct, I may do all the actions, but I won't get the spiritual food that I require in order to grow from it. And I'll go back exactly the same person as I came. So it would have been better for me not to come at all. And we have that every action is judged on its intention. And the difference in reward is dependent on the niyyah that we have. Okay, so the niyyah that you go with. So for example, from our sixth Imam al-Islam, he's broken the pilgrims into 3 groups, and he says there are those who return home with their wealth and family secured. That is the least reward that God gives you for coming to Hajj. And that is if you've gone with, just not the correct niyyah. You've gone for whatever purpose, maybe for status of the title of being a Haji, or something like that, or you've gone for business and things like that. The second one is those who have been cleansed from their sins as if they were just born. So here you've done all the Hajj, you went with the right niyyah to a certain extent, but you weren't spiritually aware. So you did all the fiqh, you submitted, but you didn't actually think about what the submission meant. You didn't take it any further. So then you will be cleansed from your sin, but you're not protected from reoccurring those sins because you've not taken it back home. And then the third one is when you're rescued from the fire of hell. So here the niyyah is totally correct, but you're also reflecting on what you're getting from it. So you're bringing it back home to yourselves, for yourselves as well.
Okay, good. So niyyah then is something throughout all the acts. Now when we come to the first wajib act of Umrah, which you will do, it is the ihram. Oftentimes we think of ihram, especially as for the men, as the 2 white pieces of cloth, and we say, we are in ihram when we wear this. The truth is, ihram has 3 parts, and only when the 3 of them are together in place, then you are in the state of ihram. So the first part is the clothing of ihram. The clothing of ihram, yes, it's quite distinctive for men. 2 white pieces of cloth, unstitched, simple, which you can take from here, or most people buy in Medina. It's widely available, maybe about $30. So it's not very expensive, and people buy it from there. For the women, it's even simpler. Their own clothes are their ihram. There are no particular difficulties there. But they tend to wear a white, cloth, white, the namaz chadar-like thing. But you can your own clothes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for women has given a lot of leniencies in Hajj. So that is one thing. The second thing is that you will actually make your niyyah in shajara. So I am wearing this ihram, or I'm entering to the state of ihram for Umrah Tamattu, for Hajjatul Islam, wajib qurbatillah. And then the third is reciting the talbiyah, echoing what we said we did as souls, as spirits, in our unconscious voice. Now we are verbalizing it, and that is wajib, and we say labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, with everybody else. It's beautiful. The whole world is saying it in shajara, you are saying it with the Muslimin, a sound of joy that you have made it, and you are responding to the call, labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, labbaik, la sharika laka labbaik. You must say it at least once. When you do this, you are in ihram. Now you are in ihram. Until talbiyah happens, you are not in ihram, although you may be dressed in the clothes of ihram. So for the men folk, you probably will wear the ihram in the hotel. So before you even come to Shajara, you have worn the clothes. Although Shajara is a major station and you have bathrooms, you have you can wear the actual clothing of Ihram, but for logistical reasons, you will have already dressed in the clothes of Ihram from back in the hotel. It doesn't mean that you are in Ihram, because Ihram is serious. There are 25 things that you cannot do that you normally can do, most of them beforehand. Now they become haram on you. That only comes into force after you recite Talbiyah. Up to that point, you are not in Ihram. But once you recite Talbiyah, then those 25 things become haram on you until you come out of the state of Ihram.
Remembering that this is a spiritual journey that we're on, more than it is a physical journey, and we are fortunate that we're starting off in Medina before we start the actual Umrah and Hajj. It would be a lost opportunity not to connect with the Holy Prophet and Bibi Fatima and the Aimah that are there, and ask for their help in this spiritual journey. Actually connect with them and ask them to help you on this spiritual journey, get the spiritual energy from them in order to sort of make the most of this spiritual journey that you're going on. And in Medina, again, you'll do your ghusl there. So think about what it is that you're doing, what it is when you're doing your ghusl. Don't just go and again have the shower, do your niyyah. And it's like, I know, we'll have these niyyah cards, and it's like, okay, you do ghusl for this, and there's about 5 different niyyahs that you make for the ghusl, and we're focusing on that. But again, think about what it is. And for those of you who have not looked at the hadith of our fourth Imam alayhi salam with when he talks to Shibli, please do that. And when you're reading it here, it's very deep and very difficult to connect to. But if you can, before you do every action, just look at that one thing. So before you go to do the ghusl, just look at what Imam tells Shibli about the ghusl. Before you do the ihram, just look at that one. So take that, actually print it out, take it with you, and each time before you do the next rukn, look at what Imam has told Shibli about that, because it'll get you in the right frame of mind about what you should be thinking, what we should be thinking about before we do this. The clothes, as Abbas has mentioned, are very specific for men. For women, it isn't, and he said we've been given a lot of leniency, and the leniency has been given in order not to compromise our hijab. And again, this shows the importance of hijab for a woman, the physical hijab of the clothing for women. So although, for example, one of the requirements for the ihram is that your feet should not be covered, for women, because the covering of the feet is part of the hijab, that has been taken out for us. So we have to cover our feet. So when even, wherever it is, there is a discrepancy between what the Hajj thing is and what the hijab is, the hijab always takes preference. So again, it's showing the importance of hijab, and we'll talk about how that plays out when we do the tawaf, because that's very, very difficult. But we'll look at that in that. But when you're looking at it, it's although we don't have a specific clothing to wear as such, we can wear our normal clothes. Everyone will be in white. And I think it's beautiful to wear white because it reminds you of the purity and the concept of, if we're wearing our normal clothes, it's much more difficult to get in the right mindset. Okay, so I think it's nice to wear white. Again, when you're wearing your ihram, make sure your hijab is not compromised in any way whatsoever. Women have to make sure that their whole face is uncovered. So a lot of the times, we will put our cover our chins when we're doing the namaz. And again, our guys allowed you to do it in the namaz for that small amount of period, but we need to make sure then it's moved away from the chin. So if you're wearing a namaz chadar, make sure it's not so tight that it's covered. Most of the namaz chadars have that bit which covers the chin. In ihram, you cannot do that. Face masks, again, cannot do that unless there is a specific health reason you have to have it. You can't do it for prevention reasons. A woman's face has to be uncovered. So it's important to remember that. Also, I think it's important to wear white so that we all look the same. Clothes tend to cause separation, discrimination. There's the concept of ego that comes into it. It sort of identifies who I am, and I'm better than you because I have these clothes on, or I think more of myself. So all of that is taken out if we all dress the same. It reminds us that we're all creations of God. And there is no one better than the other except for taqwa. And we're told that constantly. So it's a matter of, okay, only I know what my taqwa is and Allah knows. No one else can tell what my taqwa is. It takes away this concept of I, and it's we. And I think that, again, that is something that is hugely played out in Hajj again and again, this concept of ummah, which is really, really important. Once you are in the state of ihram, Allah has made 25 things haram for us, which would normally be halal. Again, it's the same sort of thing in salah. Once you've done the takbiratul ihram, the first Allahu Akbar, then things that would normally be allowed, like laughing and talking and eating, become haram in the state of salah until you finish your salah. In the same way, in the state of ihram, 25 things which are normally halal will become haram until you do the taksir, when you come out of the state of ihram. Okay? Now, most of these things are to do with our physical body. And again, Allah, out of His love and mercy, knows that, Allah, out of His wisdom, knows that we will concentrate on our physical body. Because we live in a physical realm, and so we know what our physical body requires. But it is our spiritual body, it is our spiritual soul that requires the growth that will continue on the journey. So out of His love and mercy, He takes away the requirements of the physical body to a certain extent. So you can't take care of your physical body. You can't groom yourself. You can't look in the mirror. You can't, there's all the things that we would normally be thinking about when it comes to our physical body. It's taken away. In the same way, in my Ramadan, the looking after, in the feeding, things like that of the physical body is taken away. Once you can take certain parts of the physical body away, then we're able to hear the soul speak to us. Yeah, because usually the physical body is so loud that we don't hear our spiritual body talking to us at all. And so out of His love and mercy, He takes it away. It's like when you have if you have twins, and one is really, really loud and one is really, really quiet. And the one who's loud is constantly screaming, you're gonna, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. You're gonna feed that child, because just for peace of mind, just so I can think I need to just quieten him down. And it's the same with our physical body. It's constantly screaming, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm thirsty, I want to be I want this, I want. So we're constantly taking care of our physical body. So He takes that away so we can concentrate on our spiritual soul. And it's actually really important when you are in the miqat, once you are in the state of ihram, so you've worn your clothes, you've done your niyyah, you've done your talbiyah, as you walk out of the masjid of Sajra, actually turn and say Khudafis to your physical body. Your physical body is not accompanying you. Actually mentally think to yourself, I'm leaving my physical body here and I am moving now as the soul that Allah created me as. Yeah, so you're concentrating on that. And also look at the talbiyah, just the wajib part that you have to recite. Look at that and think about what that means to you. So what does it mean when you're saying labbaik? What does it mean that here I am, Allah? It's that concept of total submission to Allah. What does it mean when you say Allah has no partner? What does the concept of tawheed mean to you? Actually think about things like that. The fact that when we give hamd only to Him, why do we only think only He is deserving of praise? It's important to think of things like that. Yeah, so think about it from beforehand, so that you can actually bring it back to your mind when you're in Masjid al-Sajra. It's really, really important to do that.
Okay, so that's ihram. So if there are any questions, then maybe for a couple of minutes on that, please feel free to ask. At the end, we will have a session for anything that you know. But I think is it pretty clear? Everybody's comfortable with that? Yes. Yes. Okay, so there are some mustahab acts to do before you wear the ihram, some ghusls to do, clipping the nails, removing hair from below the stomach. These are mustahab things, but they'll be done in the hotel. And you'll put the clothes on in the hotel. Nasir bhai, keep telling me if there's anything different. So we'll do that in the hotel for logistical reasons, and also because we are traveling as a group, and it's easy for us to all be ready that way. But you're not in ihram, although you have worn the clothes. That means, for example, if after that you want to look into the mirror or something, there's no problem. However, in the Shajara mosque, you normally will go early, and it will be just before Maghrib. We will pray our Maghrib Salat there, and then we will pray Isha Salat as well, and then we will wear the ihram. When we say wear the ihram, it means enter the state of ihram by making niyyah and talbiyah, and then the buses will begin to move out, because the men have to travel as part of the reason they cannot travel under shade in the daytime. So if they are in ihram, so then all the Shia buses move at night. Most people move at night. Okay. Thank you. Okay, good. Yes, sorry, sister.
When you're in a conference, for how many days, when you're in a for 2 or 3 days, do you sleep with that, or do you take it off? Or?
Yeah. So the question is that, when you are in ihram for 2-3 days, do you sleep in that or do you take it off? So the Umrah ihram is only going to be on from Masjid Shajara. Well, from the hotel to Masjid Shajara is 10 minutes. Then you will have it on from that evening, till you finish your Umrah, which will be literally the next day. And even that, sometimes you do in the night, it is done before Fajr Salat. Other times, if the buses have reached late, you do it in the morning. So that ihram is only on literally for a quarter of a day or a half a day. The interesting ihram is the one for Hajj, of course. So that is worn from Arafat when we leave for Arafat for Hajj on the 8th. So you will wear ihram from that day, next day till the end of Eid day. 2-3 days. Now about taking it off, you see, that's why some people say, well, if I take one piece off, does that mean I come out of ihram? Men always ask this. Or if you need to do a ghusl or do a shower, people say, well, how does this happen? The point is, remember, the clothes are only clothing of ihram. The state of ihram is not dependent only on clothing. So if you were to, for example, as men folk, you were to remove the top cloth, or even the whole thing to have a shower, you are still in ihram. So you wouldn't want to, as one person, I don't know why, we had somebody who was in pajamas at night. They said, "To ihram karne pajama pehno." No, do that. No pajama suits or nothing. You wear the white clothes for the whole time. Do not pack your PJs with you, because you do not need them at that point. Yeah? So that's it. Thank you.
I think also when you're in the state of ihram, remember it is your soul that is being covered. Okay, I think a lot of people are talking about, I know in the groups, can we brush our teeth? Can we, do this? Can we do that? Forget your physical body. Can I wear deodorant? Your physical body is not important. Everyone will be smelling. Everyone will have bad breath. Everyone will, it doesn't matter. And honestly, I am someone who can't take bad smells at all. When I used to change my children's nappies, I would have to hold my breath because I can't. It makes me feel like I'm going to be sick. But when you're there, it's totally different. It is totally, totally different. It's like if you can get into the mindset that my physical body is not there, then God will, He's your host. He will make it easy for you. Okay, so please don't sit there trying to find things, forget the deodorants, forget the toothpaste, forget everything. It's literally, and even showers and things like that, because if your hair comes out, that is one of the things that's not allowed. So that's why we say, okay, don't brush your hair, don't untie your hair. Once you've done up your hair, just leave it as it is. Don't comb your hair. Brushing your teeth, again, your gums might bleed and things like that. And this is why we don't do anything at all. And it's 2 days, and it's really not the end of the world. As a dentist, your teeth will not fall out if you don't brush your teeth for 2 days. I'm guaranteeing that. Yeah? So please, 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 just concentrate on being in the state of ihram, where you are now covered your soul with this concept of purity, and the soul is what's moving. Yeah? It's really important to do that. Thank you.
All right, good. Okay, so the second stage is the tawaf. So obviously you're in the state of ihram, there's a state of, expectation, anticipation, and then you will go to the haram. When you go to the haram for the first time, it is quite different from anything you've imagined, anything you've seen on TV. The Kaaba really does look different in size and dimension from what you expect, but it's more beautiful than you realized. When you see it, you realize that you never could imagine its beauty until you saw it. It is a powerful structure. It draws even the most jaded ones amongst you. It will pull you. Even if you're not used to that kind of thing, you will find you're fascinated by it. And it is the one thing that you will miss the most when you leave that place. So, now you're going to circumambulate it as part of the wajib acts of Hajj. There are many mustahabat that you will be taught along the way. You know, this is not the only lecture you will hear. In Medina, there will be plenty of repetitions and more ideas and so on. And of course, you have read yourself as well from scholars what they have said. So we won't concentrate too much on the mustahabat. However, this is the second wajib part of Umrah. And what you will do is you will go, and once you are ready to enter into the tawaf, you have to start the tawaf from the Hajar al-Aswad, the black stone. And you have to end each round at that. And you will make 7 rounds. Okay? So now, when you first enter, it's not just you stroll up to it and you walk. It's busy. Right, depending on when you go, it's quite busy. So you angle your way in slowly, gradually. It is preferable that you do it between the Kaaba and the Maqam Ibrahim. That is the mataf, original tawaf area. Now this area is not very big. Right? This, if you think of an annulus, if you think of a circle going around the Kaaba, keeping the Maqam Ibrahim as the end point and the wall of the Kaaba as the start point, it's not very wide. And especially when it comes to Hijr Ismail, it's very narrow, right? Because Hijr Ismail protrudes as well. So if you were drawing a circle around the Kaaba that way, you will find that it gets very narrow there. You have to try to be there. It's possible to do, and oddly enough, if you get into that area, it is one of the quietest places to do the tawaf. Even the Hajj tawaf, which will be, you know, to the rafters, it will be the biggest crowd you've ever seen. That place is quieter. So the zone, we call it, is 4 people to 12 people deep. 4 people away from the Kaaba to 12 people away from the Kaaba. If you can be in that group, you will have a good tawaf. Okay? No tawaf is easy. And all the rounds are different, a bit like pregnancies, you know, they're not 2 same ones. But then, you know, yes, I was a witness to it, yeah. But it's great. And remember that you just don't, Masma made a very good point. Everybody is a guest. People are pushing. Do not read into it. If somebody comes and pushes you, and you think this guy has no akhlaq. No, how do you know? He may have been pushed from behind. There are many times people will look at you with their accusing face, brother, what are you doing? You think, I didn't do that, I was pushed. So somebody pushed you, they were pushed. Right? Some people are eager because they think this is a one-shot deal, I'm not going to be able to come again, so they're pushing their way through. Fine. You know, that's okay. You just look in front. If there is a space, walk. If there's no space, think about, you know, the beauty of what you are seeing around you. Think of how happy the Prophet would be, right? Seeing all this ummah. And if people are in a hurry, you know, so for example, these our Malaysian sisters, they usually come in big groups, right? With a ninja in the front, you know, Mother Superior, who is so nice. You know, she's doing tasbih like this. But if you're in front of her, suddenly you'll feel a pinch with very sharp nails on your bottom. You jump out, she goes salam, salam like this. She is a ninja. So let them go. Let them go. Alhamdulillah. You do not want to get in the way of that train. It's a powerful train. People are holding on for dear life. You wonder why? Because they've never traveled. They're scared that they will get lost. Just empathize with everyone and think, you know what, this is my brother, this is my sister. The best part of it is they love Rasulullah, I love Rasulullah. It's all good. They're in a hurry, let them through. You do not ruin your concentration by reading into people's actions. Anyways, you will start at Hajar al-Aswad and you will end at Hajar al-Aswad. The major challenge you will have is to, as far as I can and Maswa can add, is keeping your concentration in this hustle and bustle, because people will be doing lots of things. You do not want to get distracted. And the second major issue for some people is counting. There's nothing more frustrating than, doing 6 rounds and then wondering whether you're on round 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, because all over then you've got to repeat it, right? So you have to have a good counting system. They used to give tasbeehs with 7. The first time I used it, around 4, I wasn't sure which way up it was anymore, and then that was even worse. So now, what you need to do is have a system. I think we all have our own systems, right? But whatever works. My system is that on wall 1, I remember the Prophet. So I do Masumin. So I know that 7 Masums. So the round 1, I will remember Rasulullah, an event from his life, something happened to him, a saying of his, and that's only round 1, wall 1. After that, there are du'as, and there are supplications, then there is thinking. Tasbihat Arba is the best thing you can do. What will amaze you is that it seems like the whole place is full of Shias, which is, of course, is not true, but you keep hearing Allahumma kulli waliyik in all the tawafs. The Shias are there in good force. In any case, that I do that, and then the other 3, whatever I want. When I get to Hajar al-Aswad, I remember who I mentioned. It was Rasulullah. So next is Amirul Mu'minin, next is Fatima. Now, I know when I reached Imam Bakr, I'm done with the ziyarah, with the tawaf. There are different ways. People need to work out a way to remember. Or you could be with the person. You could go with your spouse. You could go with your roommate, so that you keep count, and so on. It's important that you keep your shoulder towards the Kaaba. Everybody is going anti-clockwise, of course. There is no way you can go clockwise. You go anti-clockwise around the Kaaba. The whole world moves anti-clockwise. You look at all the planets going around the sun, is anti-clockwise. The whole system of God is created so that if something is moving around something else, it moves anti-clockwise. And the ulama have really read a lot into it. And you're welcome to read and get fascinated by why this is the case. The important thing is that keep your left shoulder towards the Kaaba as much as possible. By left shoulder, it doesn't mean that you keep looking at the shoulder and keep moving the shoulder. It means you mustn't turn 90 degrees or even 180 degrees. And if it does happen, then you've got to correct it. If you're twisted because of the crowd and you realize suddenly now I'm facing the Kaaba, if you haven't moved on, just realign yourself. But if you get turned and you move several steps, then there's no way you can retrace your steps. All right? You have to suspend that round immediately in your mind. Just have a quick look where I am and say, okay, I bring this round to an end, and keep walking till you reach Hajar al-Aswad again. And then start that round, that particular round again. Okay? Alternatively, if you can quickly move back, you try. It doesn't happen. Theoretically, people say we got turned around. It doesn't happen. You don't get twisted around or that. It doesn't happen. It's not that crazy in tawaf. It's just you'll be fine. So left shoulder to the Kaaba and 7 rounds. That's all there is. Yeah, the 4th round is a critical round. So suppose you have doubts. And you have, or wudu breaks. This is a problem. Wudu breaks. You have to, the tawaf requires tahara, which is the most stringent tahara, even more than salat. So for example, in salat, if you have a little bit of blood on your clothes, one that would be about this much, the old Baghali dirham that Imam Bakr alayhi salam had designed for Abdul Malik bin Marwan was this size. It was called dirham al-Baghali. If that much is there in namaz, it's okay. But in tawaf, no. If you have blood, if you're bleeding on your body or on your tawaf, on your ihram, there is blood, that you can have to make it tahir before you continue. So it's very, very important to be in wudu and tahir. Now you're going along and, for example, the wudu breaks. If anything happens before round 4, the whole process needs to be repeated. Tawaf needs to be repeated. But if the doubt happens after round 4 or the wudu breaks after round 4, you can go. The wudu breaks after round 4, you go, you renew, and you continue. Okay. You want to mention about the spiritual aspects? Tell me. Okay. All right.
Okay, so there are lots and lots of du'as that are recommended to be recited. In the rush, if you're trying to hold a du'a card and trying to read these du'as, it generally is not possible. And secondly, again, it becomes very much a tick box exercise. Remember, dua is when you're talking to Allah and asking for something specific. If you're just reciting the Arabic and you don't even know what that means, there is really no point to that. Yeah. So the recommendation is actually to just do what comes from your soul. Recite whatever your soul wants to recite. Connect to Allah. Istighfar is really, really important. Reflection, contemplation is very, very important. We go anti-clockwise, and if you think about it, our heart is slightly on the left of our body, so it's our heart that is connecting to Allah, and constantly keep thinking that, it's my heart is facing Allah, and in my life, my heart needs to be facing Allah. You start from the same point, you start from a point and you end at the same point. Again, you come from Allah, we will go back to Allah, and the in-between is my life. So tawaf is a reminder of my life, where Allah is the only constant. Everything else is a variable. Whether I'm married, whether I have children, whether I am ill, whether I'm financially stable, all of it's variables. But Allah is the constant. And again, in tawaf, you have that the house of God is the constant. So this is a reminder when you come back that the constant should be Allah in my life, in my decisions, in anything I do, the focal point should be Allah. One of the main things I think a lot of people have, the women have a problem with, is the hijab aspect. Usually within our life, we're constantly segregated. We have that, you shouldn't be around men and everything. Here, not only are you around men, but in very close proximity to men. It's very, very uncomfortable. And again, for me, I think the main reminder is that my hijab is my duty. Their hijab is their duty. If I can maintain my hijab in a place where I have no personal space at all, then I should find maintaining my hijab when I come back home very, very easy. Yeah, it doesn't matter what anyone else around me is doing. My hijab is I'm only going to be accountable for my hijab. What anyone else does, they are accountable to Allah. So that reminder that I need to be able to maintain my hijab even when my personal space has been invaded. It's very, very powerful to think of that. Because if you think about it, if Allah wanted, He could have segregated it. He could have done, hijab for men on one day and women on another day, or men in the morning and women or the other way around, usually women in the morning, men in the afternoon, because men don't wake up very early. But yeah, so it could have been done with their segregation, but He chose not to. And again, what is the learning for me from that is very, very important. The number 7 symbolizes, within Islam, it symbolizes eternity. So again, this concept of, although I'm only doing 7 physical rounds, this journey is eternal. It will continue. So my focal point of Allah being an eternal journey that I need to concentrate on. The ulama say that we have veils. In fact, we're told that we have veils that stop us from connecting to Allah, from seeing Allah, from recognizing Allah, from understanding Allah. So within the tawaf, the ulama tell us, think about the veils that are restricting you from Allah. And a lot of these are bad akhlaqs that we have. So things like arrogance, jealousy, greed, and actually think about, do I have these bad akhlaqs and how can I remove them? So each round you could be thinking of a specific bad trait that we may have within ourselves and how we can remove them, and what good trait can I replace that with. So thinking of good traits like justice, kindness, humility, humbleness, things like that is important. Again, look at what the 4th Imam alayhi salam says to Shibli. He says, did you think that you're actually escaping from all others onto Allah, and that the knower of the hidden things knows it? So again, I think one of the biggest challenge is when you're surrounded by so many people and so much chaos and so much is happening, to have Allah as your focal point and not focus on everything else. And if I can do that there, I can do it here when I come back. Because it doesn't matter what's happening in my life, Allah is my focal point. So in that chaos, I need to sort of practice and make sure that my mind is focused on Allah and nothing else. Yeah?
Okay. After you do the tawaf, you will then, the next wajib act number 3 of Umrah is the salat of tawaf. Generally, all tawafs, whether sunnah, mustahab ones or wajib ones, they have the associated salat with it, 2 rakat. So now, you have finished 7 rounds and you're comfortable that you've got that, that rukn done. You head towards Maqam Ibrahim. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that you have to do the salat behind Maqam Ibrahim or at Maqam Ibrahim. In practical terms, there is an area which is on the way to Safa Marwa and where people are praying their 2 rakat salat. You will make your way to that area, and it's a good area to go to because the next thing you want to go to is the Safa Marwa area. And you go there and you will find that they have, people are praying. You pray 2 rakat salat. The important thing is that, you are behind Maqam Ibrahim. And you will have to be in Hajj. There is no way you can pray in front of it anyways. So 2 rakat salat, you will make your niyyah that I am praying 2 rakat salat for Umrah Tamattu, for Hajjatul Islam, Wajib Qurbatan Ilallah, and it is 2 rakat salat exactly like Fajr. Okay? And that's it. That's the... Yeah, I mean, this issue of men and women praying, the rule normally would be that the women would pray slightly behind and to the side. This rule is just not possible in Hajj, and the ulama have allowed for it to be dispensed with. So, if you are praying and the only spot you get as a man is that there's a lady in front of you, and there's no other place and there's nothing you can do, you just do your 2 rakat salat. I like to do it. It doesn't happen to, it's not very hard to do it. I like to do it so that I've got the Maqam Ibrahim in front of me and I can see a wall of the Kaaba behind. So there is about 15-20 meters this way or that way you can do that. That's nice to be looking through Maqam Ibrahim at the Kaaba. This is the only place on earth, not the only place. There is a place, one of the islands in Fiji as well, but this is the only place you can pray in any direction towards the Kaaba. You can decide to pray this way one day, that way one day. And there is an island in Fiji which is exactly the opposite side of Makkah, in which the Qibla is in any direction you want on the island. But the thing is, if you're doing that, it's very powerful. You're praying towards the Kaaba, but you can see the Maqam Ibrahim through. This is it. That's all there is. Are you saying something about this?
I think as physical human beings, we tend to connect to physical objects. And this is a reminder that it is not the Kaaba that we worship, but Allah. And this is why we're told, as soon as the tawaf is finished, go and do the salah. So it's that reminder that it is Allah that we're worshipping. Don't go and drink your water, don't go and rest. Just make your way towards behind Maqam Ibrahim and then pray. And again, you will see where the people are praying. Don't just go right behind them, because you don't want to disturb the tawaf as well. So you just move back until you see where everyone is praying, and then you just find a spot and pray there. Again, think about how you can bring it back home. So the concept of, with the tawaf, you've connected to Allah. You've got some sort of, you've had some of the veils removed, you've got that connection, and then you go and pray. So again, when we go for salah at home, take a few minutes to connect to Allah before you do the salah. So it's the same sort of principle from that perspective of, I need to connect to Allah before the salah. I'm not going to connect to Allah in the salah. I need to do the preparation before the salah. It's really important. And again, from the 4th Imam, when he's talking to Shibli, he says, when you pray 2 rakats, did it occur to you that you were praying the prayer of Ibrahim, peace be upon him, in defiance of shaitan? So again, what is the learning that we get from Prophet Ibrahim? Why do we pray behind Maqam Ibrahim? So think about that. Think about the tawakkul that Prophet Ibrahim had. Think of the concept of his submission to Allah in sacrificing his Ismail sort of thing. Think of things like that as you go and pray the salah behind Maqam Ibrahim, and literally just. This is the Miraj. The Prophet was gifted a gift for the Mu'mineen when he went to Miraj, and he said that the Salah is the Miraj for the Mu'mineen. If we can feel that connection to Allah in that Salah, then we can bring it back home, and our soul will desire for that connection again when we're here, and that will push us to then want to do more in order to make our Salah better when we come back home, inshallah.
Sure. Thank you. And now you enter the 4th thing. So as I said, you're already in the area, and you will have, questions on Tawaf and on Salatul Tawaf. Yes. So what if the wudu breaks? Are there washrooms close by? So there are When you say washrooms, if you mean toilets, there aren't in the haram area. But if you mean areas where you can do wudu, yes, there are. And now from this year, I was told that they have added for women wudu areas, only wudu areas, which didn't used to be available that frequently. So there are areas you can do wudu, especially in Mecca, right? There are water bottles and stuff you can use there as well. I mean,
I think also because you're wearing a chadar, so if you're wearing a chadar rather than a scarf, you can actually go inside your chadar and do your wudu, so your hijab is not compromised. It's much easier when you've got the chadar on to do the wudu. And again, remember to make sure that your feet are under the chadar as well, so your feet isn't being shown, because you forget things like that. But there are wudu areas, not even last year there was, specifically for women within the haram area. So there are, but usually we just tell everyone, just carry a bottle with just a little bit of water, because you don't want the weight, so much water. You only need a little bit of water, and then you just come out and you do your wudu inside your chadar, and then you come out, and then you go back in. And again, if it's before 4 rounds, you have to restart the whole tawaf. If it's after, then you start from where your wudu broke. Yeah. That's fine, as long as you've not gone for a wander. Oh, the other thing to mention when you're doing tawaf is when they see the Kaaba, to touch it.
Yeah. Are you finished with your question? Men don't have to wear chador or anything like that. You just go, get it done, come back. No problems. So? Yeah. So basically, you're not meant to touch the Kaaba when you're doing tawaf. Okay? So you will find that there is a plinth around the Kaaba where they've inserted rings. I don't know, those who have not seen it will see it. That is part of the Kaaba, so you cannot touch that. Because the Kaaba, when the Kaaba was destroyed at the time, the Quraysh was low on funds, so they built it 1 meter smaller than the original. The Quraysh, not the Saudis. Saudis are plenty on funds, but then they have decided to keep it like that, the old way. So those are foundations of Nabi Ibrahim, Shahr Darwan they're called. And then the Hijr Ismail is also part of the Kaaba, of course. So you cannot enter that in the Tawaf area, Tawaf time. So all these things, but then it's right there, and then you know what, sometimes it's quiet and you want to touch the Kaaba. There are plenty of hadiths about Imam Sadiq and some of the other Imams who would cling to the Kaaba or touch the Kaaba or hold the Kaaba in Tawaf. So how are these reconciled? Well, the ulama, they say that either these were mustahab tawafs, or if, for example, you are doing a wajib tawaf, it is not something that is haram, by the way, but I wouldn't recommend it in wajib tawafs. But if, for example, in a wajib tawaf, like Umrah tawaf, or Hajj has got 2 wajib tawafs, you decide you want to touch the Kaaba because it's quiet, because you were overcome with this kind of, feeling and emotion that you want to touch it. You have to suspend your tawaf mentally and say, I'm stopping my tawaf here, and go and touch the Kaaba. And when you finish with what you want to do, you come back to the spot where you were and you carry on. But you cannot just do tawaf in a wandering way, oh, here's the wall, let me touch this here, or move idly with your hand touching the Kaaba. People do that for Hijra Ismail, just touching it as they go around. Do not do these kind of things. Either what I would recommend is, after you do your salat of tawaf, you can go back to the Kaaba and touch it then to your heart's content. Or the one mustahab act that there is highly recommended in Makkah is tawaf. You are told, do as many tawafs as you can, always with the salatul tawaf as mustahab. So at those times you can touch the Kaaba. The next wajib act is the sa'i. You are already in the... Yes, sorry.
When you do the tawaf, you just salah after that.
Yeah.
Before you just say sahi, do you have a rest in between that?
Yes. So do you have a rest between tawaf and sa'i? The salat should be done immediately afterwards, because as you heard, there is this idea that you are going around a stone. Are you worshipping it or what? And the salat is important to tell yourself as a talqeen, as well as show that you are worshipping only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there must be zero time wasted between the two, the ulama have said you must go immediately to it. However, for sa'i, you can take a break as long as tawaf and sa'i are done in one day. There isn't a huge gap between the two. So they should be done on the same day. Generally speaking, yeah, you're told at that time to go and drink among the mustahabat that you will read, drink from Zamzam. The Prophet ﷺ would drink from Zamzam at that time. He would constantly, drink. There are du'as that you put some Zamzam water on your back, and that is what you do. And the Zamzam water is plentiful on your way to Sa'i. So now you're going to Sa'i to do your fourth wajib act of Umrah. And again, the niyat is there. At Safa, you will start at Safa, which is on the right hand side as you enter the track, the Safa mountain. And you will go to Marwa, and it's 7 times between the two. So the niyyah will be, I am performing the sa'i, the walk between Safa and Marwa is what it is. For Umrah Tamattu, for Hajjatul Islam wajib qurbatan ilallah, and you start. There are many mustahabbats in sa'i, and you can look into that. They're in the books. Reciting dua on Safa and reciting dua on Marwa while facing the Kaaba is highly recommended. We don't do it, we try to get through it. We don't do it as much, but you will find that people do it and it is recommended. Sitting on, you can't sit on the mountain of Safa and recite Surah Baqarah, which is what the Prophet would do. But whatever you can, mustahabbat is what makes these acts more beautiful, because mustahabbats are done out of love, sometimes where wajibats are done out of duty, right? It always there is more thawab for mustahab acts, because there is no mustahab sa'i, so there is mustahab tawaf, so there is no mustahab sa'i. So you will go 7 times. The only thing that I need you to remember is that because of the expansions, the track is like this from Safa to Marwa, and there is a wheelchair track in the middle, and then there is the whole track back from Marwa to Safa. That Marwa to Safa used to be the entire whole Sa'i area, Safa, Marwa, everything, and then there was need to expand. So when they expanded a whole section of equal size on the right hand side, there is some query on exactly how far the Safa mountain goes and how far the Marwa mountain goes. So according to the Sayyid, it is better when going from Safa to Marwa to be about a couple of meters, within a couple of meters to the left hand side. So you don't go too far right, because it is believed that the Safa mountain does not extend that far behind you. But if you are on the left hand side of the track, 2-3 meters this way heading to Marwa, that's fine. Yeah, just next to the wheelchair. Do not walk on the wheelchair track. It's for wheelchairs. A lot of people say, walk in the wheelchair track. It's for wheelchairs. No one's going to stop you, but it's not the right thing to do. So you walk there. From coming back, the whole track is between Safa and Marwa anyway. There's no problem there. So, but going, just be a little ihtiyat, and you have to be a little bit to the left hand side. There is an area, of course, between the green lights, which is, so there is an area where the men are recommended to trot, to walk faster. Harwala it's called. And it is marked by green lights. So when you see the tube lights, there's got a green tube light there, you begin to walk a little faster. It's not recommended for women. It's against their hijab to do this. Neither did the women do it in the first place. This Harwala is because when the Prophet took over in the agreed Umrah, that they made a niyyah that you go away this year, do not do it, but you come back next year, and they do the Hajj, and the Quraysh and the idolaters will quit and vacate Makkah for 3 days as part of the arrangement, and the Muslims all entered Makkah to do Hajj. Where they could see the Kaaba from their mountain place is exactly this place of Harwala. And the Prophet told the Muslims that they are watching to see weaknesses in you, and if they suspect weaknesses, they might be emboldened to attack. So in this particular area where they can view you, show strength, walk with, a lot of energy. So these Muslims were tired, by the way. They had marched all the way from Medina and now they were here. But when they got to this spot where they could be spied from the mountains, this open area, they walked fast and trotted, and then they could collapse outside the other side, no problem, nobody would know. Right? So that's what we show. We show that towards our enemies, we can never show weakness. We are always strong. Yeah? This is what it means. So that's it, basically Safa and Marwa. And 7 times, you should end at Marwa. If you don't end at Marwa, there's a problem. One guy came and said, I ended at Safa. I said, really? Well, what he was doing is then actually 14, and he was counting a lap going and coming. That's not what it is. One journey is one, coming back is the second, going is the third, coming like that. 7.
Safa and Marwa are supposed to remind us of striving. And whenever you strive, you end up in a different place to where you started from. And this is why you start at Safa and you end at Marwa. Again, remember the tawaf, you started at the same point, you finished at the same point. So that's to remind you of life. You came from Allah, you will go back to Allah, and your life should focus around Allah. Safa and Marwa is about striving within life, and whenever you're striving, you end up at a different place. So it's really important to remember that. I think the greatest lesson and the most humbling lesson here is of Bibi Hajra, because we're following in her footsteps. Now think about Bibi Hajra. She had everything against her according to society. She was a woman, which was looked down upon in those days. She was black, which was looked down upon in those days. She was a second wife, which was looked down upon in those days, and she was a slave before she became a second wife. So she was a slave, which was looked down upon in those days. She had everything against her. And God elevated her status so much that now everyone walks in her footsteps. Even those men who do not give any respect to women, generally, when you go there and you feel, like a lot of the times the way that we're talked to by certain people there, that respect is not shown. Even they have to walk in her footsteps. And it's beautiful to see that when the respect comes from Allah, no one can take it away. And although she had everything against her, just by having that tawakkul, having that, trust in Allah, when she was in the most difficult position as a mother, where your child, you think your child is going to die of thirst and you're looking for water, she did not despair. She did not, think, what is Allah doing to me? Why me? There was none of that concept. She strived. And again, it's that striving that we need to do. And then having the results from Allah. If I strive as much as I can and leave the results on Allah, then the results that Allah will give me will be something out of my imagination. Imagine she's looking for water, and then Allah just tells Prophet Ismail to stamp his foot on the ground, and water comes gushing out. It's when you have that trust in Allah and you strive as much as you can, leave the results to Allah. And Allah will give you the results you would never ever imagine. It's beautiful. Again, from the 4th Imam alayhi salam, talking to Shibli, he says, when you walked between Safa and Marwa, did you feel that you were between fear and hope? And that concept of being, fear of our sins and the hope of Allah's mercy, fear of our downfall and the hope of Allah's guidance, fear of hell and the hope of heaven. So again, thinking about that, so maybe when you're walking in one direction, you think of all the things that you should be fearing, and when you're walking back, that concept of hope, and think of all the things of hope. Although the Safa and Marwa is not as chaotic as the Tawaf, it is very, very difficult to keep the concentration in the Safa and Marwa, in the Sa'i aspect, because it's very long walk and generally your mind just goes wandering. So again, it is very, very difficult to keep that concentration on what what you're reciting and the contemplation and things, and you need to be aware of your mind wandering in this place as well.
Yes. Sorry.
Just a question on the tawaf. You mentioned that it's actually easier and more comfortable to do them between the Kaaba and the Maqam Ibrahim.
Yes.
Which I found very interesting. What I want to understand is, how easy is it to get to that spot?
Okay, so how easy is it to get closer to the Kaaba? It depends a lot on what time you're going and which particular tawaf it is. Some of the tawafs are busier than others. There are certain times where everybody wants to do tawaf. Usually these are just on either side of the namaz, because they're already in the haram, they want to do tawaf. But if you go a little bit later, people have left to go home for rest or breakfast or lunch or dinner, it's quieter. It should be possible to get into that zone within, say, you might decide to do one round, and each time angling inwards until you are comfortable that you are in that place. But other times you can just strike for it. It's not difficult to do. If you are outside that ambit in the tawaf, it doesn't invalidate the tawaf. Okay, so you should try to do it in there, but it doesn't invalidate the tawaf. The last thing that is wajib in Umrah, we're cognizant of the time, and but as I say, we spend a bit more time here because these arkan are repeated in Hajj actually, is the taqsir. Taqsir, to reduce your nails or your hair, yeah. So go for hair. You'll find when you reach Marwa, which is the end of Sa'i, there are people there with scissors who can cut your hair. You cannot do someone else's while you are in ihram still. So it's only after your own hair is cut that you perhaps can help your wife or you can help your friends, and you have to cut the hair, and the women have to be obviously careful that it's done privately, or you can wait till you get back to the hotel. A lot of people do it right there because it's the sense of the occasion and the moment, and you want to do it. There are some very enthusiastic people who would love to do it for you, but they take big bunches out, and they think the more they take out, the more happy you will be. Look how much brother. No. So just you tell him, okay, you know what, this much, go for it. And so once you clip the hair, you can do your own, by the way, you are out of ihram. You're out, the umrah is finished, and you are no longer restricted by those restrictions of ihram. You can go, you can back to the hotel, grab a shower and wear your regular clothes for the guys and whatever, so you can have your regular clothes and those restrictions are lifted, and now you are waiting for the main event, which is why you have come to this country, and that is Hajj. This was a prelude to Hajj, a pretext for getting in, because you can't get in Makkah in any way, shape or form if you're not in ihram. So the only way to get in is to go in ihram and do this minor, if you like, Umrah, and Hajj is the main event. 13 wajib acts in that, which I will now go through after Masmus talked about taqsir.
Okay, a few things to just be careful of. When you're doing your taqsir, please maintain your hijab. Your hair you shouldn't do it in a way that you lift up your thing so that everyone can see your hair. So again, be very, very careful on how you do the taqsir. Once you've done the taqsir, please don't just throw your hair wherever, just don't drop it there. There are dustbins and you can throw it in the dustbin. There's no problem with that whatsoever. In this perspective, it's about focusing the attention back to the body. Yeah, so you up to now you were the soul that was traveling, and now the body is brought back because the restrictions of ihram are now removed because you're out of ihram. So again, it's the same sort of principle. If you had two loud children, if you had twins and one was really, really loud and one was really quiet, you're concentrating on that loud one because you have no choice. But if the loud one is taken away, then you're focusing on the quiet one. And then when I bring the loud one back, you still know that the quiet one is there, and you don't forget about the quiet one because you've seen the potential in the quiet one, you've seen the growth in the quiet one, so you'll still take care of the quiet one more than you did before when you weren't so much aware. It's a symbolic of starting a new life, afresh. There must be some sort of change. What is the change that I'm going to take forward from this as well?
Right.
Sorry,
Oh.
one question. So where does Zamzam water come into it?
So the Zamzam water it's mustahab to drink the Zamzam. Are you talking about drinking it?
Yeah.
So it's mustahab to drink it once you've done the salah before you go for sa'i. And even during the sa'i, there are lots of Zamzam stations. You can stop and have Zamzam there as well. Yeah. Once the Umrah is complete, we will be in Makkah for a while before the Hajj starts. There are lots of hadiths of what to do there. So we have hadith from the 6th Imam alayhi salam where he says just even looking at the Kaaba is reward in itself. And also there are 100, he actually breaks up the, if you imagine the thawab into 120, to show the importance of each act. So he says 60 is given for the tawaf and the salah of tawaf, 40 is given for just performing salah, and 20 is given for just looking at the Kaaba. Yeah, and again, when you're performing salah, rather than doing mustahabat salah, if you have qaza salah on you, please do that. And again, going back to the hadith of the Holy Prophet, where he says, an hour of reflection is better than a year of worship. So just sitting there, looking at the Kaaba, reflecting on what it is that you need to change, you know, what is it that I need to change in my life? Why has Allah brought me here? What are the, you know, where should I be? Where am I? What's stopping me from being, you know, going from where I am to where I should be? Things like that, just reflecting on things like that. Please, please, please have a small notebook with you. Write down things. Because you know what, when you're there are so many things that come into your mind which I truly believe are from Allah. When you come back, you forget those things. If it's written down, you know, you can go back and you can read it, and even when you read it, it reminds you of being there. So the resolutions that you make, the things that you want to change, just write everything that you're thinking, just write it down in a small notebook, and that will be your reminder when you come back, inshallah.
We will just take a 5-minute break. The second part of it will be much faster because, as I said, a lot of these wajibats are already talked about. But 5-minute break, so 11:30 to 11:35. Please, there are drinks. There are. I scoffed a mandazi. It's very nice. You know. So please, 5 minutes. Thank you. Sallu ala nabi. Allah salli ala Muhammad wa ali. Can I please request everybody to settle down? One of the websites that there is plenty of resources on the du'as, on lectures, on books, on things you can be looking at is www.hajguide.org. So there's plenty of material you can look at, spiritual aspects, lectures and so on. The other one, of course, is the very famous duas.org. We'll give you the duas to recite during the different aspects of the arkan, what to recite in tawaf, what to recite in doing sa'i and so on, as well as you will have been given books which will have these things as well. So prepare from here what you will do at each point. Okay, you are out of ihram, you finished with Umrah, and you have anything between 2 days to a whole week, depending on when you arrived and so on. And so you fill that time with mustahab acts that you have been told. Now, Hajj starts. The Hajj begins with Ihram again. And that is the first of the 13 wajib acts of Hajj. And this time the miqat is Makkah itself. You do not have to go outside Makkah. Anywhere you are in the Haram is your in Makkah is the miqat, your hotel as well, no problem. I think everybody in this, is anybody here staying at Azizia, or everybody staying next to this, close to the Haram? Do you know? Azizia? You're with Hajj tours? Okay. So anybody you're following the Sayyid? I mean Sayyid Sistani? Yeah, okay, good. So then we keep it simple. Anywhere in Makkah will do for the Muqallidin of Sayyid Sistani. The best, thank you, place of course is the Kaaba itself. I would strongly recommend that if you can, you go there, because we will all go on the 9th of Zil Hajj, the night before, so the end of the 8th day, at night time you will begin to go towards Arafat. But that evening, the rest of the Muslimin, our Sunni brethren, have all left for Mina, which means that you will never ever see the Kaaba this quiet, whether it is any time of the year, Umrah or Hajj. It is so quiet that you think you're in a different place. There is no one in town. You can go and touch the Kaaba at will, stand next to the Kaaba, hugging it at will. Of course, no, the Hajar al-Aswad is never quiet. But the thing is that you really should go and see how beautiful it is when the Kaaba is deadly quiet. You go there. We normally go there for Maghrib Salat, pray Maghribain, then do the Niyyah, because it's mustahab to do Niyyah for Ihram after having prayed some sort of Salat. So we then do the Niyyah and we come back in time to board our buses for Arafat. The first wajib act is Ihram. The Niyyah this time is I wear the Ihram for Hajj. Hajjatul Islam, Qurbatan ilallah ta'ala. And then you make the Talbiyah, Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, and now you are in the state of Ihram all over again. Bring to mind the fact that it's about the soul, not the body. So these things you can't do that you could do before, at least not purposely. Most of them, if you do them by mistake, there are some kafaras. Like you looked in a mirror, people get very scared. I looked in the mirror in my ihram, Ya Allah, oh brother Abbas, I didn't realize in the whole way from Makkah to Medina, when we were in the bus, I was looking at my Medina to Makkah, my reflection in the coach. I didn't believe it. 2 hours of infraction I did. If it is by mistake, there is no problem. The thing that, this is my personal thing I'm sharing with you, this business of selfies. People have never seen the Kaaba before. It is a hugely spiritual moment. In front of me, people have said, okay, guys, let's take a selfie with the Kaaba. Right? I'm here now. Come on, there is a limit to these things, huh? So, and plus, you're breaking a rule of Ihram if you take a picture of yourself to look at it. It might as well be a mirror. So, you cannot do that. If you are taking somebody's picture, as a yadgiri, you know, this is how we were, a few of us, etc. Look at those pictures after ihram, because the moment you look at your own picture in real time, it's like a mirror, and that done purposely is a problem. So, yeah, take the photos after outside the ihram. Okay, the second wajib act is staying in Arafat, what is known as wuquf of Arafat. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good slide. Yeah. So on the 8th, we wear the ihram in Mecca, and then we leave Mecca for Arafat. You will be in Arafat by night time on the 9th, and then you will spend the morning of the 9th there. But that doesn't matter. It's not part of anything wajib. You are there because logistically you need to be in Arafat. So your groups have brought you there. The actual wajib thing begins at Zohar time, and that is perhaps the heart of Hajj itself. As Imam would say, Al-Hajju Arafat. Hajj, in summary, is Arafat. And you make a niyyah that I am staying in the plains of Arafat from Zohar time to sunset for Hajjatul Islam Qurbatan ilallahi ta'ala. This is the wajib part of Hajj, Zohar to Maghrib, and then you really don't have anything to do as such except to stay there. Of course, it is a place where you try to recognize your sins. I think you're going to talk about that, aren't you? Yeah, so spiritual aspects. Because one of the things that happens there, and why people, are so elated at Maghrib time and hugging each other, is because the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that here is Jibreel. He told them on the Hajj. He said, as they were departing for Muzdalifah, he said, brothers, wait, here is Jibreel, who has come down to me and said, "O Muhammad, congratulations to you and your ummah, that whoever was in Arafat till Maghrib, Allah will forgive their sins." It's a great gift, great gift. But again, the problem is of finding our way, how you got to that place, how you got to the sinful situation in the first place, and how to stop getting there. If you were a person, for example, who had certain bad habits, did not pray, you got forgiven, but you're going to ruin that whole situation when you get back home, because you will not pray again, and you're back. If you did not wear the hijab, you're going to just throw that beautiful gift that Allah gives you back in His face again and be back. So all these things are very important. If you do not, for example, pay the wajib dues, if you, for example, are in a habit of doing something haram, that place in Arafat, those few hours is where you make a list of your particular vulnerabilities to sinfulness and make a resolve not to repeat. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's gift becomes one that is one that lasts with you. So that is the second wajib act. The third wajib act then is, so we will do du'as and we will do many things there, and you will be given time to contemplate. All that is wajib is to remain on the plains, that's all, between Dhuhr and Maghrib. The third wajib act is to spend time in Muzdalifah. And Muzdalifah has got... You want to do that? Do you want me to repeat it too? No, let's do it. So Muzdalifah. Yeah. Okay. All right, fair enough. Okay, that's a good idea. So what we'll do is just give you a sort of like bird's eye view of what's going to be happening. So 9th is the day you spend in Arafat afternoon. 9th night, you will go to Muzdalifah. And what you want to do in Muzdalifah is there is a wuquf there, there is a wajib stay there, and one of the things we do is we pick up pebbles to stone the shayateen. Yes? The 10th day is Eid day. So the wajib thing is to stay in Muzdalifah between Fajr and sunrise. Then on Eid day there are 3 wajib acts, the 10th day. The first one is to stone one of the shaitans. The second one is to do the qurbani. And the third is to do the halak or taqsir. Right. That is the 10th day of Eid. That night you will spend, you're in Mina by the way, you will spend half the night in Mina, at least. Depending on what the logistics which will be explained to you by group organizers. Some groups will spend the whole night. Some groups will spend the first part of the night. Some groups spend the second part of the night. In any case, half the night. All right, and that is called the mabit or stay. That is also a wajib part of Hajj. Thereafter, over the next 2-3 days, you have got to do the wajib acts in Makkah. Because now you are in Mina, you have to still do a tawaf, which is called tawaful Hajj. You have to do the salat of that tawaf. You have to do sa'i. You have to do another tawaf, which is tawaful nisa. And you have to do the namaz of tawaful nisa. That's all Makkah activities. While that is going on, and technically you have till 30th of Zil-Hajj to do all these things, right? But of course, practically you need to know when your flights are leaving, so you're not really relaxed about these things, and then suddenly, your group organizer says, so we're leaving tomorrow morning, bring your bags down, and you say, but I haven't done this tawaf, and I haven't got, so you need to know, and your groups will guide you. It's not something that you will be left alone. You will be told, hey guys, these are your time frames. In the meanwhile, you keep having to spend that, so 10th night, the 11th night, the end of the 10th day, 11th night you were in Mina, you have to spend the next night, half of it in Mina as well. And every night you spend in Mina, the next day you have to stone the shaitan 3 times. The 3 shayateen. When you go there, you will see that in the shaitan complex, as it were, there are 3 areas which are symbolic of where Nabi Ibrahim was stopped by shaitan when he was taking his son Ismail to Mina for slaughter. And each time shaitan told him that, do you really think that it is sensible that God would tell you to kill your son? Do you really think that that was a true dream? And use different ways to tell him that you are mistaken and there is another choice. Don't do this. And each time Ibrahim threw stones at him to say, go away from me. I know what is my duty, and so on. So these 3 places. So that's it really. So these are the wajibats, and there are 13 of them. Now we will talk a little bit in sequence about each one and answer any questions. So I think it's Arafat and Muzdalifah, if we do that day first. So that is the day of 9th of Zil-Hajj. It is the day that Hajj begins, the difference in Arafat, of course, is that everybody who has come to Hajj is in Arafat. So it is a huge crowd. Everywhere else, you are sharing space with the others who have come for Hajj. Even when you're in the Haram, some are in the hotel, some are sleeping, some are in Arafat. Between Zohar and Asr, the whole Muslim Ummah is there, and it is incredible.
If we imagine the Umrah as the practice for the Hajj, so you've got yourself, you know what you're doing now and you're there. And also think about the perspective of, like, for example, if you have a child who's gone off to university, okay, and they've moved away from home, when they come back, because that connection is broken to a certain extent, when they come back and they do something wrong, if you were to just shout at them or tell them to go away and think about it and think they wouldn't feel that love. If they were with us all the time, they would feel the love. But because that connection is slightly broken, the love is not felt. So think of it from that perspective. We have moved so far away from Allah that the connection is slightly broken. So if before Allah tells us to go into the plains of Karbala, plains of Arafat, and think about what it is that you've done wrong, what do you have to ask for forgiveness? He tells you, come back to me. Come to me first, feel the love, feel the connection. It's like he calls us to his house so that we can feel that love, we can feel that connection. And then once we felt that love and connection, he says, now go out of Makkah. Now go out of Makkah and think about what you have done in your life that you need to change. You need to ask for forgiveness. You need to right the wrong. And this is what Arafat is about. Okay, so once we have got that connection from the Umrah, now we go back into the state of Ihram. Again, we are traveling as the soul. We go to the lands of Arafah, and there are certain du'as and things that are recommended to recite as a group. Generally, most of the groups do du'a of Arafah together. It is a place of istighfar. Although you will do certain things together, try to find some time in the day to be on your own. It's really important that you spend that time on your own, to do istighfar, to think about the things that you've done wrong that you sincerely need to ask for forgiveness for. If you need to right the wrong, again, write it down. What is it that you need to correct? So if you haven't been praying your salah, the qaza that you need to pray, make the resolutions there. This is the place of resurrection. On the Day of Judgment, we will have to account for what we have done, and there will be no going back. Here we have a chance to go back and correct the wrong that we've done. This is a place for du'as. Remember others before you remember yourself. It's Allah says whenever you pray for others, you get that and more. It's a time for contemplation, to gain marifah. This is why it's called Arafah. Marifah of Allah, marifah of the Imam. This is the only place, that the most beautiful thing about Arafah is you are in the physical place where the Imam is. The Imam goes to Hajj every year. In all other aspects of Hajj, people do it at different times. So like Abbas said, when the tawaf of Hajj, the tawaf Nisa, the Sa'i and all of that, depending on your group, what day you do it will be different. The Umrah again will be different depending on your group, which, when you leave here, when you go and do the Umrah, when you leave Medina to go to Makkah, all of these things are all done differently. Arafah is the only place where every single Muslim who is in Hajj is together on the plains of Arafah. At that moment, remind yourself that your Imam is on this plain as well. You are guaranteed to be in the physical proximity of your Imam. There is such a beautiful feeling. Imagine praying and the Imam is praying there. The connection that you get on the plains of Arafah, it's miraculous. It's undescribable. Use the Imam as your tawassul here. Actually think about it. Write to the Imam, leave the ariza there. Whatever you need to do to connect to the Imam, connect to the Imam there. This is the most beautiful aspect of the Hajj, the Arafah. Again, the greatest sin that you can do is to leave the lands of Arafah and doubt that you have been forgiven if you have sincerely asked for forgiveness. So it's important to recognize that we have been forgiven, but also, like Abbas said, contemplate on how you will not continue those sins. So if there is a sin that you have done, how are you going to make sure you don't continue that sin? What are you going to put into place to ensure that those sins are not done again and again?
Okay, so we've done the Muzdalifah thing. Essentially, this is the third wajib part of Hajj, the wuquf. So we're going to stay the night there, and we make a niyyah that I'm staying here from evening time till Fajr, and then you have a small second wuquf, which is from Fajr to sunrise. We will not leave Muzdalifah till sunrise, and then we will all enter Mina together. Women, yeah. So women or elderly, women are allowed to leave in the night, as are elderly people, and your groups will have different organization for them once you pick up the 70 pebbles. You need 70 pebbles from there, Muzdalifah, although you can pick up from anywhere in Haram. So include Makkah, not Arafat, but Makkah, Mina, and Muzdalifah, you can pick up stones. These stones are going to be used to hit the shaitan. But we would say to you to pick up from Muzdalifah, which is the mustahab place to pick it up from. Why Muzdalifah? The Prophet ﷺ and his group picked it up from there. But Hadith tells us that Muzdalifah is the plain at which the ababil, the swallows, when they were ordered by Allah to come to attack the army of Abraha, who were looking to damage the Kaaba, each swallow swooped down to Muzdalifah and picked up 2 rocks on its claws and 1 in its beak, and then flew on to Kaaba and released them there. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَجَعَلَهُمْ كَأَصْفٍ مَأْكُولٍ. By the time they were finished, the men and the animals of Abraha were like chewed up straw. So these were special stones of some sort. So we pick up from there. This is it. 70 because you will need to hit 7 the first day, 21 the second day, 21 the third day. That's 49 you need. 21 for if you stay another night. You probably won't stay another night, but essentially you could stay 10 nights in Mina and you would have to stone every day the following day 21 stones. We also take 21 because people lose their stones, people are really bad shots. It's a big stone, but say, you find, alhamdulillah, people are so optimistic. They are 50 meters away and they're going for it right from here, thinking they're going to hit that wall. All they hit is the guys in front of them, and then it's finished. Or they misunderstand. A couple of years ago, we had one guy who said that I've run out of stones on day one. I said, what happened? Did you miss them all? He said, no, I hit 70 on the first day. Because he either got overexcited or he kind of was asleep in the Masail section or whatever. And he said, Brother Abbas, I've finished my stones and my right arm is hurting. I said, forget your arm. Let's get you some more stones. You can borrow and lend. And I said, tomorrow use your left arm. What else can we do? Yeah.
Okay, so when you were in when you were in Arafah, it was during the daytime. It was from Zuhr to Maghrib. And remember, Arafah was where you were trying to get Marifah. You were trying to remove the veils, see more clearly, understand Allah, understand yourself. So there's a lot of contemplation, there's a lot of knowledge that is to be gained, and we need light for knowledge. Okay? When you get to Muzdalifah, it is in the darkness. Now, what you have seen with your eyes, now you need to transport into your heart. And remember, I'm talking about the spiritual eyes and the spiritual heart. Okay? So whatever you have contemplated, whatever you have gained, whatever marifah you've gained, now you need to embed it into your heart. Think about it from the perspective from here. Okay? How much knowledge do we have in our minds? We go to majalis upon majalis upon majalis. And we learn so much. We listen to lecture upon lecture and we read all these books. How much do we truly have that knowledge in our hearts? How much do we actually, if we had it in our hearts, then we would show it in our action. Yeah, we have total yaqeen that Allah is there. We have total yaqeen about heaven and hell, yet we commit sin still. Why? Because the knowledge is there, but it's not in our hearts. And it's about, like Muzdalifah is the place where you actually transport that knowledge, that marifah that you've gained, and bring it into your heart, and actually then build that relationship with Allah where you have total trust in Allah. And now you're going to move forward into Mina and fight your shaitans, our own individual shaitan. We will each be fighting our own individual shaitan with the help of Allah. When you have the help of Allah, you do not need, nuclear bombs and huge rocks or stones. There's nothing special about, I truly believe there's nothing special about these stones. It's the concept of that it came from with the help of Allah. A bird that is so small, with such small stones, were able to defeat a whole army. And within that army there was an elephant. So it doesn't matter how small I am, how tiny I am. It doesn't matter that I live in a country where I am the minority. It doesn't matter. If I have Allah and I have actually embedded Allah in my heart and I move forward with Allah, then I don't need anything else. This is the night of ibadah. Again, we are very unfortunate as women because we will be hustled and moved on. And I can, logistic wise, it makes sense, but it is heartbreaking when you're actually leaving Muzdalifah, because it is a beautiful place to actually spend the night. And I remember one year, but it's not fair on the rest of the group to try to force that, because AGA actually allows women to go, and it's not women who are not capable of staying. Even able women are supposed to go and move to Mina. But it's a time for ibadah, for the men to be in that place. Imagine the night before Karbala started. Imam asked for one more night. And in that night, it was that concept of connecting to Allah, in order that on the next day, when the battle of Karbala happened, they were in the right frame of mind and they weren't going to back off at all. They were going to go to and be shaheed, and it was that concept. And this is the night where now the next morning you are going to fight your shaitan. So think about that. The best time, we're told again, to do du'as and to do ibadah is between Fajr and sunrise, and you will be on the land of Muzdalifah. So once we picked up that stone, even as we're traveling out of Muzdalifah, try to contemplate, remember Allah as we're traveling out of Muzdalifah to Mina, inshallah.
Okay. So that's the 9th now. Before we reach the day of Eid, we have about 15 minutes left in this presentation. So if there are any questions on Arafat and Muzdalifah. The pebbles you have to collect have to be certain size. Yes, they have to be small. If you look at the marks on your finger, that's sort of that much. That no bigger than that. No, not very tiny. Not huge rocks. Yeah, they have to be natural rock formations. When you go to Muzdalifah, you will see that there are many natural rock formations. It's a mountainous area, and they have, the whole world is picking up stones, but there's plenty. Don't pick up very tiny ones, mainly because you won't be able to throw them. Don't pick up huge rocks, because if you miss them, someone hit you with that. Yeah, it's very important that you hit. We talk about Rami. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so reasonably sized. Yeah. Okay.
Just push, press them against your hand to make sure they don't break, so they're not bits of
concrete
that's jammed together. Make sure they are rocks.
Yeah. The squeeze test also tells you that it's a stone and not some animal waste. Okay. All right. Now then, the next, is there any questions on just these two aspects? Right. Thank you. So then the next day is Eid day, the 10th of Zil Hajj, and there are 3 wajibat acts on that day. The first of them is that you will only stone one of the jamarat, the Jamaratul Aqaba or Uqaba. This Aqaba Jamara is the biggest one of the 3. They call them small shaitan, medium shaitan, big shaitan. It's just because those particular places were marked with smaller and slightly bigger and, the bigger signs. At the time of the Prophet, there was only a circle. You had to basically go and throw your rock in the circle because that symbolized the place where Ibrahim met shaitan. Then it became a pillar, as you know, and then, of course, it became the wall because suddenly the number of pilgrims increased. When we go, it will be a wall. We will try to aim to the middle of the wall if possible. Essentially, you go close to it, and when you feel you're at the right distance that you can hit that thing, because it's important that you are certain that the pebble you cast hits. And this is the beauty of it, that once you've made your niyyah, I am hitting the shaitan. The word is rami, it's just Arabic and means to strike, to hit, to throw. Just say that I am going to hit this shaitan or this representation of shaitan 7 times for Hajj Tamattu Qurbatan ilallahi ta'ala. So niyyah is made, and you then strike 7 times. You will see the stone. Believe me. There are another 1,000 stones going to it, but for some reason, you will see your stone, always. But you have to be certain you have hit. For example, you are not certain. You just said, no, I don't know. Then you have to hit again. So it doesn't matter how many you hit, as long as you hit 7 certain stones. All right? So if in doubt, repeat. For God's sake, don't come home and say to Maulana or Mulyani, you know what, I think I only hit 5. At that point, it's very hard to put things right, because you are already in the tents. Jamarat is 3 kilometers away, and now you decided I haven't done it right. So 7 times, you have to be certain. That means do not take with you 7 stones. Take 8. So no? Okay, take more. Take more, 10, 12 stones, because you only need 7 to hit directly. So you've got a little pouch. You don't have to take all your stones because it's quite heavy, your 70 which you picked up. Take a few in the bag you've got. Most groups will give you satchels back. So you got a few extra. And so you can hit 7 clear stones, and that's it. All right? You want to speak about this? Or just, yes?
It's very, very busy. I think the Jamra is the most, it's very busy because it's a very tight area and everyone's trying to do the same thing at the same time. So it becomes very, very busy. And this is one of the reasons why the women and the elderly go earlier. So that night, the first night, it's easy for us. And again, remember you're hitting the largest one only. So the largest, most of the ulama say the largest shaitan that we all need to fight is our ego. If you can bring the commander down of the army, then the army will dissolve. So if we can break our ego, then the rest of the sins will be easier to fight. Yeah, so it'll be easier to fight shaitan on the rest of the sins. So again, thinking about where your ego comes into play when you're hitting the shaitan. Actually, try to sort of imagine this. And then the rest of the army that you do, think about what it is that you're breaking. What shaitans are you breaking? What is it that I'm actually doing in my life where shaitan is leading me away from Allah, and this is the stone that is gonna break that, and it's not going to continue in my life now. I'm not going to listen to shaitan anymore. And when it's very, very busy, again, remember it's not easy to push shaitan away. So the more difficult it is, and it's funny because there will be certain ones that you find difficult, there'll be certain days that you find difficult. Again, where's the growth? What is Allah telling me? Maybe it's a specific sin that you're thinking about that Allah knows that you're going to have difficulty in removing the sin in your life. So you'll find that jamarat is going to be really, really difficult for you. And you'll see, it's like someone will come out of it and say, oh, that was such an easy one. And you're thinking, really? That was so difficult. And again, it's what you're thinking about, what sins that you're trying to fight shaitan on. So think of specific sins that you're distancing yourself from as you're going, when you go back. And it's a continuous, so it's not just once, it's 7. So again, reminding us that this fight against shaitan, this jihad, is a continuous jihad. It's constant in our lives.
Good. Okay. So then we have the animal sacrifice known as qurbani. This is something that the men folk who are able will go to do themselves, or in some groups the group organizer will arrange it for you. The women will not go themselves. It will be arranged for them. So essentially what is being done is you make a niyyah that I am sacrificing this animal for Hajjatul Islam, wajib kurbatan ilallah, if you are doing it yourself, which most of the men will do. When I say by yourself, doesn't mean that we'll hand you a knife and an animal and get on with it. No, but you will be on site and you will possibly place your hand on the hand of the one who slaughters. All right, so you're watching as it happens. For the women, they will make a niyyah that I am giving my niyyah to this person. You might say the name of, I don't know, Murtaza Devji, Nasreen Walji, whoever. He is my appointee to do my niyyah for me, and that is the niyyah you will make. So you give this, if you like, appointment to the one who will represent you in doing that, qurbatan ilallah. So that is the wajib act. When you receive news or you are there physically and you see that the animal has been slaughtered, you then move to the 3rd wajib act of the day. So women, people who haven't gone physically to the abattoirs, men, elderly, unwell people will get a phone call in the tents that says, okay, your animal has been done. So now you are free to move to the 3rd wajib act. The other men will do it themselves. You want to talk about the curse? Yeah, okay, thank you.
Just very quickly, the jamrat, the rami that a lot of, I don't know what it's like in the men, but a lot of women, you're very, very tired once you've done the Arafah and the Muzdalifah, and then you get to Mina and you've done the first rami. And there's a lot of walking. From where we are located in our tents to the actual jamara, there's a lot of walking. So the next morning when we have to go again to do the 3 shaitans, a lot of women will say, like, I'm too tired, I can't do this. It's like, can I just give my niyabah to my husband because he's going anyway? Remember, niyabah can only be given if it is impossible. And Aga actually says, even if you give niyabah, that doesn't mean you stay in your tent. You actually go to the jamarat, and because it's crowded, then you feel you can't go into the crowd, then you give your niyabah, but you watch the person going to do it for you. So it's not that you just relax in the tent and give niyabah and say, okay, you go now, I'm tired. Yeah, and there's a wisdom behind that, because again, to fight shaitan is difficult. So we need to push ourselves to actually do the jamarat, which is really, really important. The other thing with the qurbani, for the women or those who don't go and do their qurbani themselves, it's very difficult to stay focused. You're already tired, you're in Mina, and then you start chatting and you forget what it's all about. Yeah. So again, remember here, while your qurbani is being done, we should be thinking about, who is my Ismail? What is it that I need to sacrifice? What is the thing that is occupying my heart instead of Allah? Who is it that I love so much directly, not as an extension of my love to Allah, but who is it that I love so much that I need to break that direct love and make it as an extension of the love of Allah? Yeah, so it's really important to contemplate on who or what is my Ismail, and how am I going to sacrifice that for the sake of Allah?
Okay. So when it comes to distribution of the meat of this, it is divided into 3. One is for yourself. One is a gift you can give to anybody, and the 3rd is for the poor and needy and as a charity. Now, when it comes to processing the meat over there, it's obviously difficult because we can't very well take that animal with us there. So what people do is they say, well, fine, my animal, the 1/3 is mine, so I leave it. 1/3 is my friend's, so you have a decision you make, that with a roommate, with the group member, because small groups go to do the slaughtering, and you say, guys, I'm giving you my share. I'm gifting you the one for the friend. So then the friend decides that he's got the gift, he leaves that behind. So 2/3 are catered for. The third is, well, that is a problem. How do we take it out to the poor? So what happens is, I mean, Nasin Bhai, I'm not sure what is happening in CoEJ, but in EHM, but for example, in HSC, what they do is they know that they have 240 Hujjaj, so 80 animals is a third, right? 80 animals are already appointed and given to the poor beforehand, so that equals to the 1/3 for the ones we leave behind. But essentially, your group, one way or the other, the group organizers will organize it. Do not take animals out of there. Although, if you want, when you get your coupon, the men who go, there will be two parts. When you go in with your coupon, he will detach one part and he will hand one part to you. That one part that he detaches is for the animal, and they count those against the animals. The part he gives you, when you finish your qurbani and go out, there are windows. If you give that coupon, you will get a prime haunch of meat, right? It won't be your particular animal. That's, it's impossible to track that. But you will get a prime haunch of meat in a bag. Now, the moment you go out there with that, there are hundreds, well, not hundreds, but there are so many people waiting for that. Because for them that will be a very, very good meal, and they will rush at you and ask you. So normally we take some of these out and we give them there. The meat is not wasted. The Saudis, under the abattoir there, the one in Mina, there is a huge canning processing plant, and meat is then processed there and put into cans and then sent. And you see signs, 30,000 tons Sudan, coming at 1,000 tons to this country. The meat is frozen, packed and sent out. It's used, but your job is to distribute it like this 3 times. The halak is the last thing on that day, is the shaving of the head. You say, I'm doing this as part of Hajj tabattuk wajib qurbatan ilallah. The ladies, of course, will not shave their heads. It's haram for them to do so, but they will cut their hair, part of their hair. For the men, it is highly recommended to do the yeah, I know. So for the men yeah, so to cut your hair rather than doing taqsir. Okay. There is an issue of what happens now. Remember the 25 things that were wajib. Now, as you reach the end of Eid day, sequentially they start to be reduced. You cannot do all things, but the moment you have finished with your qurbani and the halak, you can now remove the clothing of ihram, right, for men. And you can do most things except use of perfume. So if you want to have a shower in Mina at the end of Eid day, you can do so, but that is where this business of simple soap comes about, right? They carry soap that is unscented, that is unperfumed, so that you cannot use perfume yet. Intimacy with spouse, and of course hunting, which, we won't be hunting.
Can I just remind women, because this is the day of Eid, a lot of people then put attar or give the attar things to each other. You are still prohibited to use perfume, so please be careful of that. And again, when you see your spouses, because we're all very excited to see our spouses with the shaven heads and everything, there cannot be that physical intimacy, because again, that is still not allowed. Yeah, so just be very, very careful of that. When you wish your spouse an Eid Mubarak, there shouldn't be that physical intimacy there. And again, it's the same sort of principle. You're moving from the spiritual to the physical now, and you're out of ihram as such, except for these 3 things.
Okay. Right. Now, there's a lot more to be done, but we've talked about it all. So, for example, by now, at the end of Eid day, you still have a tawaf to do. It's called Tawaful Hajj. And it is followed by Salatul Tawaf. you've got a sa'i to do, and you've got another tawaf called tawafun nisa, and it's salat. These 5 things are there, and you have different times at which you can get it done over the next few days while you are there. So we won't go into that because all of that has been done in Umrah. The only thing different about it is the niyyah. The niyyah is for Hajj tamattu this time instead of Umrah. The only extra things you have is the mabit. So staying in Mina. Yes, sorry.
Sorry, just 1 minute. The tawaf of Hajj and its salah and sa'i, once you've done that, then you are allowed to use perfume. So then you can have a normal shower and use whatever deodorants and perfumes and things that you want. But physical intimacy still is not allowed until tawaf of Nisa and its salah is done. And they don't all have to be done in one go. So you can do the tawaf of Hajj and the salah, which needs to be done together, and then the sa'i has to be done on the same day of the tawaf. So it doesn't have to be done straight away, but it has to be done in the same day. And then you can come back and then do tawaf nisa a few days later. It's totally up to you, but it has to be done for everyone, whether you're old, young, married, not married. Tawaf nisa has to be done for everyone. And I think it's important to think about why there is this extra tawaf of nisa. Maybe contemplate on why Allah has made another extra tawaf after the tawaf of Hajj, which is called tawaf nisa for everyone to wajib to do.
Yes. So it's only after the end of tawaf nisa that there would be the restoration of rights. Do not say, oh, I'm doing it for my dada bapa and he died many years ago, so there's no tawaf nisa for him. Well, it's yours actually. You are affected, not your dada bapa. So the moment you do sa'i, as I said, another sequentially, you can now use perfume. So if you do, for example, you go back to Makkah and you do your first tawaf, the namaz of tawaf and sa'i. Then you can come and you can have a regular shower with perfume, whatever you can put on perfume, and then you can maybe do your tawafun nisa next day. So at that point, at the end of sa'i, the restriction of perfume is lifted, remaining with only one restriction, which is physical intimacy with spouse and hunting, within the haram. And then, of course, after tawafun nisa, the only thing that you cannot do is hunt in the haram, and that's fine. We will not hunt. But it comes off sequentially, and believe me, think about why. There's so many things to go into that. The only thing I want to mention then is the mabit in Mina, which your groups will tell you what to do, spending half the night of that 11th night and 12th night. Okay? Whether we are going to stay half the night, full night, first half, second half, this will be talked at a group level. You make niyyah each time that I'm staying part of the half the night in Mina for Hajj tamattu qurbatan ilallah, and the next day you would stone the shaitan sequentially, small, medium, large, right? And you would make niyyah, I am stoning the jamratul ula, jamratul usta, or whatever, small, medium, big, for Hajj tamattu qurbatan ilallah. Yeah, small, medium, big, in that order. You cannot change the order. You can't go anywhere. Nowadays the Saudis have made it a one, the police are there, and the police will not allow people coming backwards. They want to keep it flowing clearly. Only on the first day, if you go there and you get a really quiet time at the Jamarat, don't congratulate yourself. It just means you're on the wrong stone. You are hitting the first one. On the first day on Eid, you have to hit the third one, and that is going to be busy. If it's quiet, you're not lucky. You just stood in the wrong place. Okay? The second day, you will do it sequentially. That brings my part to an end. If there are any questions.
Sorry, just very, very quickly. When you're doing the wukuf of Mina, you're told that you have to stay at least half the night. This is from Maghrib to true midnight. And again, your groups will explain to you what true midnight is. Or from true midnight till Fajr. Okay, that is at least, or you can spend the whole night. Again, the reason of the wukuf in Mina is the concept of this was the place where all the Muslims gathered together. So you find out about other Muslims from all over the world. You find, you build relationships, you trade with people, help other Muslims and things like that. It's the concept of becoming an ummah. Now, generally, we're told by our group leaders not to wander off because there's tent upon tents and you'll get lost. So even though we're in our own tents, I'm sure there are people we have not connected with. So use Mina where you connect with someone, you find out about someone, you build that relationship as a Muslim to another Muslim who you've not maybe spoken with or not spent time with throughout the rest of the Hajj. This is the time where you actually build those ties as an ummah. You know, there's a beautiful hadith where someone comes to the Imam and says to him, you know, I've come from this town and we're all Shias there, and you know, if you rise, we will rise with you. And Imam asked him that, in your town, can a brother put his hand in another brother's pocket and take what he needs without permission? And the guy said, no, of course not. And he says, well, then there's something lacking. And again, it's that concept. If my sister took from my handbag, she doesn't have to ask me. I know she will take what she needs, and that's fine, and I don't have a problem with her using it. Again, we're all sisters in faith, so why do I not have the same feelings towards, you know, my sisters in faith? So it's understanding the concept of the ummah that's really, really important here, and the unity, and how I can take that back home.
Okay, thank you, Haji. Yeah, okay, so Mustafa, with just your permission, I know we have till 12:30. There are two things that are important. One is salat. Please, salat is one of the wajib rukn, and for some reason, people seem to think that it's okay not to pray on planes or something like that. It's never okay not to pray. You know, it's just how you pray. You have to, if you're going to travel and you know that within the flight, your namaz time will come and get qada in the flight, then you have to pray. How do you pray? Yeah. For the qada for Maghrib, by the way, for travelers is Fajr time, not the normal time, which is 12 hours after Dhuhr. Normally, 12 hours after Dhuhr time in your city is qada for Maghrib, normally. But for a traveler, it is still Fajr time, is qada. So you look at it, if you know you're going to land and there'll be time to do Maghribain on the ground, then you can wait till that. But if you know that, no, the whole thing's going to go, then you must decide how to pray. It is the duty of everybody to know from their itinerary what time namaz will be, and for some reason people sleep through it. I don't know why they do this. You know, that they miss Fajr just sleeping through it. So you do your wudu on the plane, and normally if you're traveling on your own with your family somewhere, then I think it's reasonable. I've never had a problem asking for time, the staff to make some room near the galley or such. But now there's 180 of you on the plane, and you suddenly all rock up and say, we want to pray. You will scare them, and they will think that, they will tell you, look, it's just impossible. We can't make room for all of you. So then it makes Agha Sistani and the ulama, they say how to pray on the plane and how to pray in your seat, and you can do that quite comfortably. You know, you just check from which way the qibla is. You can ask, or there's a direction finder mostly on those on the TV, and you face qibla at least for the takbiratul ihram. So if the qibla is this way, you would stand up if possible and make your Allahu Akbar this way, and then sit back in your chair and finish your salat. Okay, but you cannot say, I'm not praying, I'll do the qada later on. This is one thing. The second thing is praying in haram. Amongst the places that we can pray full is Makkah and Medina, even if we are travelers. You know, you have to be 10 days in a place before you can pray full. In Makkah and Medina, you have a choice that even if you are there 1 or 2 days, you can pray full, and praying full is better than praying qasr, although qasr is allowed if you want to. Fasting, no, we're praying, right? So there are 3 mustahab fasts in Medina. You can read up about those, you can do as a traveler. But in the main, you would pray full because, you know, you pray full at home, don't you? And Medina and Makkah is our spiritual home, for sure. So the other question that remains is whether we should pray behind the imams of Ahlus Sunnah. We should pray in the mosque. Again, the ulama are quite clear that we should not leave the mosques at the time of salat. You know, Shias in the past would leave the mosque at Isha time because they've prayed Maghrib and Isha together. Isha adhan is being called and they are leaving the haram in Medina and Makkah, and that's not right. If you want to leave earlier. But once salat is called, all ulama have said you pray shoulder to shoulder with the rest of the Muslims. And this is very powerful to see people with folded hands, people with open hands praying next to each other. and shaking hands after or whatever. It's the Muslim Ummah. In terms of fiqh, the Sayyid, he says, well, that the Imam can lead, but you will have to recite the two surahs. Normally in a Salatul Jama'at, the recitation of the first two surahs is the responsibility of the Imam, and the Ma'mumeen, the followers, they listen or they keep quiet. But in this Salat, he says that you will recite the surahs as well. The Rahbar, the Ayatollah Khamenei says that no, you should pray with the Sunni Imams and treat their Salat exactly like you would a Shia Imam, so you don't have to even recite the surahs. The question that arises is that, we recite Alhamd followed by Kul Huwallahu Ahad maybe, and they launch into half Surah Qiyamah or something like that. Long surahs, long portions of the Quran. What do we do? Well, listen. They're some of the best reciters in the world. Listen. If you feel your mind wandering, you may recite Tasbih, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. Otherwise, just listen to that recitation. There is no problem. And then when they finish, you can go to Ruku'. Yeah? Prayer times, yes. The prayer times for Maghrib are the problem. For Fajr, there is a small discrepancy, but that's okay. I'll take your question. For Maghrib also, they take a while. They take a while to start. And normally for Maghrib, there is a slightly longer difference of about 10 minutes. But again, in many cases, by the time the adhan comes, and then there is a small gap that they give for nafila, and then the namaz adhan comes, there is that 10-minute gap. So you can pray at the same time as everybody prays. Always it's not true though. Sometimes you find that, especially Maghrib Isha, it tends to be very, very unpredictable. The Imams recite very small surahs, and B, they're quite quick. And if it rains, they're even faster. So then you quickly look up and see that so what we are required is the sun sets in the west. We have to look at the eastern sky. So you can see the sun setting, because you're in Haram a bit early anyway. You can see the sun setting. You want to look at the opposite side, 180 degrees, and make sure there's no redness in the eastern sky, and that is the time for Maghrib. Yeah, so wait 15 minutes. Yeah. Okay, your question, sir. Yes, sajda, I think it's okay. You can do sajda. You don't take your sajda gab there. In Medina, there are large areas which have got no carpet, and it's the marble. You can do the sajda there. And in Makkah, the whole haram anywhere you can do because it is a marble. Yes.
I just want a clarification. So are we doing niyat of Jama'at and reciting Surah?
Yeah, so this is the question. Are we doing niyat of Jamaat or niyat of Furada? You see, this is it. What is it? It's a bit of a chimera, isn't it? It's neither a Furada nor is it a Jamaat. So we normally make a niyat of Furada because really you have recited the whole Salat Fardan. But you're reciting with the people to show your solidarity and unity with the Muslims. Okay. Yes, sorry. Yes, please. Yes. Yeah, I mean, like, do we do qunut in the second rakat? You can do. Sayyid Sistani has got a beautiful section on where he says that we do not want, when we pray with our brethren Ahlus Sunnah, to do anything that is disturbs the look of the prayer, and in that we can dispense with some of our mustahabbat. If you want to do qunut, you do not have to necessarily raise your hands to do qunut, right? You can do qunut, you can do the du'as without raising your hands, if that is what you want to do. So he wants a uniformity, and this is very interesting section in his Tawzil Masail in the Q&A. His insistence that not only in Hajj but everywhere else you should pray together with the other Muslims, and also the fact that you can actually dispense with some of the mustahabbat, not the wajibat, of course. Yeah.
So if for Maghrib they've started namaz whilst there are still redness in the eastern sky, for the sake of unity, is it permissible to join in and our niyat be a qada namaz?
Yes, yes. So suppose the namaz begins at a time that's too early, then you would join, of course, but you would make a niyyah of some sort of qada or mustahab or anything like that, and when it's over, then you recite your Maghrib Salat. Yes. Thank you very much. I understand there will always be questions, and I think we're here, but there is other things on our schedule. So I will hand over now to Mustafa, inshallah. Yes? Yes. Dr. Nizar Mirali is a GP with many, many years experience in Hajj. So please welcome him with salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum.
Switch on the mic.
So yes, as Abbas said, I'm a general practitioner. Those of you who don't know me, South Harrow, not far from his practice, one of the largest practices in Harrow, and the best, of course. Yes, alhamdulillah, I had an opportunity of going for Hajj probably 10, 12 times regularly with the HSC. But for the last few years, haven't been able to do so because of commitment, particularly relating to the Salam Center. So today I really want to prepare you for this fantastic journey that you're all going through. Just for me to have a feel of what the audience is, raise hands for those for whom it's the first time Hajj. Okay. So of all those who are going for Hajj the first time, who has not even been to Umrah? In other words, first time to Saudi Arabia? Okay. The first thing I want to tell you from the medical aspect, that of course those 14, 17, 21 days that you'll spend there, just like staying in London, you're likely to get illness just based on statistics as much as you would get it if you were in UK. So there's nothing new about it. But can I say, alhamdulillah, Saudi Arabian medical services are par excellence, and I mean it. Yeah, primary care, you'll dotted around various, besides I know CoEJ has its own camp, Nassim Valji and his team. I know HSC have got their own camp. I'm not sure whether Nazma Datu and her team have got their own camp as well. But besides that, the British government used to send British general practitioners to go and hold a camp there as well, which has stopped. But these GPs, group of GPs, voluntarily now go and set up camps. But besides that, there are lots of other primary care services. And God forbid, if you needed to go into hospital, I can tell you, your experience will be better than any NHS hospital. I'm not being paid by Saudi Arabia, believe me, but I mean it. So I have experienced people who have had a heart attack, people who have broken their bones, people whose cancer was first diagnosed whilst they were out there as well. So don't worry about those things. But of course, you have to make sure that you prepare yourself. This fantastic thing that we heard from Abbas Masuma today, I mean, wouldn't it be a shame? Wouldn't it be really a shame if you found that yourself that you're unwell to carry on? Yeah, you spent what, 5, 6, whatever it's costing now, £5,000 now for Hajj, and all this time that you're sacrificing and all the trouble you're going, you must make sure you're fit. When is the first trip, by the way? Is it in about 2 weeks' time? Yeah, 2 weeks' time. So another personal question. How many of you wear a Fitbit or iWatch? Okay. Okay. How many of you do actually monitor your steps? Okay. Well, for those of you who aren't, can you please start walking? Please start walking from today. And I really mean it. Next 2 weeks, if you walk, it will make a lot of difference for you. More you walk from now until you travel, more it will help you. Believe me, there is a lot of walking to do whilst you're there. So we are talking about 15,000 steps a day. Easy. Yeah.
Last time I worked it out, we did 125 miles in Hajj.
altogether. Yeah. So Mina to Makkah, for example, is 11 kilometers. So okay, 125 divided by So divided by 40, 50, 20 days. Say only 20 days. So points. So 6 miles. 6 miles a day. 6 miles is what, about 10 kilometers? Who is good with maths? 11 kilometers. The distance between Mina and Makkah is 11 kilometers. And 1 kilometer is about 1,300 steps. So you can work it out. So please start walking just to make yourselves fitter. And the fitter you are, easier you'll find. And whether you like it or not, you will have to walk. It doesn't matter the pace of walking, but you will have to walk. So for walking, what do you need? You need a good pair of shoes or slippers or sandals. I know you spent enough money, including the fact that you might have had a meningitis vaccination at a bomb. Next year, remember to have it. For those who go next year, Salam Pharmacy will do it at cost for you for next year at £35. Another second one of my okay. So you've spent enough money, but please invest in a good pair of sandals. I normally wear sandals, Clarks or anything similar. And for the 3 days that you'll go, I'm sure Abbas might have mentioned it, or he will mention it, that you have to make sure that your feet, particularly the men's, are exposed. So when you wear just the slippers, then make sure that your slippers with a good rubber base rather than very thin slippers. But you will actually lose them unless you are extra careful. In fact, I will always encourage that you keep your slippers with you in your bag, in your rucksack, rather than leaving it anywhere and hoping to find it again. So investing in that is useful. Despite that, you will get two major problems relating to the skin. One is you'll get blisters. Most of these camps do have blister packs, but for you to go to a pharmacist now, today or tomorrow, buy some blister packs and keep it with you is useful. Okay, you'll remember me for that. Number two, for people whose BMI is slightly higher than 25, and mine is, there is less space in between here. So as you walk, the skin rubs against each other, doesn't it? So there's a bit of chafing. So Vaseline is a very good stuff to use as a prevention. Apply some Vaseline there, apply some Vaseline at the heel of the soles as well, every single day. Keeps the cracks away, and that's very useful. And by the way, there's abundance of Vaseline there. But generally, I think, Nasim will correct me there, generally I think medicines are more expensive in Saudi Arabia than buying over the counter here. So once you have actually, because of the heat and the sweat, and I believe, I looked it up, weather in August in Saudi Arabia, it said 39 to 44 degrees, but Nasim told me he was there 3 weeks ago, and it hit 49 degrees at Asr time. Okay? But just ignore the numbers, don't mean anything. Just remain focused in what you're going for. So because of heat and sweat, wherever two folds of the skin meet, so under the armpits, around the groin, private parts of women, other parts, there is bound to be a heat of sweat accumulating, and that quite often leads to a bit of fungal infection. And that gets a little bit itchy and red and sore. Canesten HC, or my favorite Dactacort, which is a combination of dactarin and hydrocortisone, is a good cream to keep with you. I'm not sure whether Canesten HC is Nasim here. I know, is any pharmacist here? Canesten HC may not be available over the counter. Is it? It's available over the counter. Fantastic. Is Dactacort available over the counter as well? Fantastic. So buy a tube of Dactacort, D-A-K, T-A-C-O-R-T. And that will be useful for you as well. By the way, those of you who suffer with chronic conditions, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands. So diabetes, chronic bronchitis, asthma, heart conditions, etc., blood pressure. Needless to say, make sure you got enough enough stock with you. You've got every right to go to your GP and say that I'm going for Hajj and I'm worried that I might lose it or whatever. Can I just have an extra quantity? If it's a sympathetic, he should. So keep them with you. My personal suggestion is that keep them in your handbag rather than in your but be guided by your tour operators. But some of the drugs need a declaration certificate. So if it's a narcotic analgesic or whatever, tramadol or whatever, let your tour guides tell you where to keep them. But it is important, the chronic conditions, you try and make sure that you maintain them well, so your diabetes control is good. There's not much you can do now in the next 2 weeks, but make sure that you by the way, carrying a little summary of your condition. If you go to your GP receptionist, he should be able to print a brief summary, and she should not charge you anything. The GPs are obliged to give that free of charge. A brief summary which will tell us your conditions and your medicines that you take regularly. Keep it with you. Take a picture of it, take a scan of it, keep it on your smartphone, and keep a hard copy with you as well. I think that would be useful as well. So other conditions, common things happen. Viral illnesses, upper respiratory tract infections do occur there as much as they do here. But because of the crowd, you are more likely to get it more often, more likely to get it there than here. Just because of crowd, really, just because of sheer space. There's no point in wearing a mask. You'll see many people wearing a mask. Wearing the mask is good if you already got the virus and you don't spread to others. But wearing the mask to hoping that you'll not catch it from others doesn't work. So with respect, if you were standing next to me for Salah and we are sitting and there's still an hour to go for Fajr and he's coughing away, coughing away, coughing away, you want to turn this way and you breathe out a few times without letting him know. Or without him feeling bad, you might want to change your position. So it's air droplet, direct contact. If he keeps on coughing, the viruses are there plentiful in the air, and if you're going to inhale that, you're going to get that. You will hear people say, don't have fizzy drinks, don't get cold drinks, etc. I think some people are actually just sensitive to cold drinks, yeah? And talking about drinks, please avoid anything but water. Water is the best of the drinks. Zero sugar. Okay? All these juices and all those pops that you'll buy will have calories that you probably don't need them. Even there you don't need them. You all need to shed them. I was saying that some of these cold drinks do cause a little bit of throat sensitivity, so avoid them if you can. And the last thing you want to do is really, as I said, be unwell until the big 3 days are concerned. Let me just check my notes to make sure I haven't missed anything. So hydration, drinking, as we were talking about water, is very important. And if the temperature is going to be as high as that, not only do you lose water from your sweat, but every time you breathe in and out, you're losing water as well. And the best indication is that, am I drinking enough, is your thirst, obviously. If you're feeling thirsty, for heaven's sake, drink. Also, when you go to the loo, have a look at the color of the urine. Yeah, it has to be pale yellow. Pale yellow. Perhaps just if you see that sign there, the background of that, yeah? If it is dark yellow, then you're not drinking enough water. So drink plenty. I haven't been with CoEJ, and I'm sure they beat HSE, but HSE's food is excellent. Nazmas and others are probably even better. What I'm really trying to impress on you guys is that there's no need to eat outside. You get 3 meals, 2 meals every day, superb, nutritionally valuable, and excellent choices. Why have to eat? I know you'll get tempted. When you see the burgers and when you see the, is that a KFC there? I forgot. Yeah, of course, yeah. You'll see the KFC in Medina. Are we going to Medina first? yeah, don't eat the KFC there. I mean, just resist it. Okay, there are halal KFCs now here, but I'm not claiming that they're halal. Try and avoid. Just try and eat as much as you can, and there's a wide variety of choices that pleases all the generations. Of course, I know even if I say so, you will eat outside, but that's okay. But just eat where you think that the turnover is there. Yeah, I mean, don't go to places where you find that there are not enough people. So you want to see. So al-Baik is okay. Al-Baik, where they sell chicken nuggets and chips, etc., which you'll see a few of them. Al-Tazaz, is it?
So you're concerned about hygiene, are you?
Yeah, hygiene more so than anything else. Yeah, hygiene more so than anything else. Now, mental health. I mean, when you reach there, you'll actually feel so energized. You'll feel so great. You'll really get a feel of awe. But don't get too excited. You have to make sure that you sleep enough. Sleep is mandatory. You need 8 hours a day of sleep. And don't try and be a hero or heroine to say, well, I managed to sleep only 2 hours last night and I was in haram all night. You're kidding yourself. You will get unwell. Initially, sleep 8 hours a day. You will not probably manage, well, you'll definitely not manage all 8 hours together. But I'm one of the lucky ones that Imran will agree with me that I can just switch off. I can just switch off any time on the floor and I get my 1 hour, 2 hours here. So 2 hours there, 3 hours there, 4 hours there, make it up to 8 hours a day. Please sleep. Don't try and impress others. And as Abbas said and Masuma said, don't miss the Fajr prayers. I mean, go for all the prayers there. That is the beauty of for Hajj, and this is what you're going for. It is absolutely, from my point of view, it is absolutely unacceptable for you not to be in the haram at the time of prayers. And I mean all 5 prayers, or at least the 3 prayers. Besides, so for some of you, besides the sleep, if you do suffer with any other condition relating to mental health, it is important that you carry your usual medication, which you might have been prescribed. Can I say that you probably have lots of questions. I'm going to stop in about a couple of minutes' time. If you don't get time to ask me a question, I don't mind answering to you on email or WhatsApp. I brought some, I brought some cards here. Here, my email is there, my WhatsApp number is there. I don't mind if you communicate with me. Of course, it's more sensible that you communicate with your own GP who would know you better. But I don't mind if you want to ask me anything that crops up later. Let me just quickly go through, make sure I've covered everything now. So, going back to the upper respiratory tract infection, by and large, I think, my experience, that every individual perhaps needs one course of antibiotic. I have seen people who would resist going there on an antibiotic, even though the spit is now yellow and they're coughing away and the throat, they're just trying to be brave and don't want an antibiotic. And I know when they come back and they were meant to go to work the following day, they stay in bed for another 2 to 3 weeks after coming back. So if, I'm not saying that you make your own judgment, if your doctor there tells you that you need a course of antibiotic, in United Kingdom, in my practice in Harrow, I prescribe very little antibiotics. But in Saudi Arabia, when I'm sitting in my clinic there, I do prescribe lots and lots of antibiotics. I think I have covered everything. I just want to go to Masuma's point about Arafah. It's the epitome, it's the peak. And that afternoon from Dhuhr to Maghrib, first of all, read Imam Hussein's dua. Read the English translation. If you read the Arabic version with the group, fine. Then go away in a corner, outside, under the sun, read the English translation. Read every sentence of it and just reflect on it. It is such a powerful dua. These are just some of my personal tips. One other personal tip, tawaf 7 times, with respect to Abbas, just drop the mustahabat generally. Don't get bogged down that, oh, I didn't do this and I do this and I have to do that and I have to carry the book and I have to carry this dua. You're going there to transform yourself. You're going there to come back newborn. And your attention has to be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's it. Nothing else matters. And you have to actually, particularly those 3 to 4 days, just get lost. And I mean get lost. You know about this famous anecdote that a person went to a mujtahid and said, I'm going for Hajj, what should I do? He said, get lost. He said, I beg your pardon. He asked him again. He said, get lost. And he said, 3rd time, he said, get lost. What it really means that, yes, I know you will ring your spouses and you'll ring your children and you'll use your WhatsApp and you'll use your phone. Do that, fine, that's okay, once a day. But those 2-3 days, the peak of it, just leave your, switch off your phone if need be. What's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? Switch off your mobile. Don't even carry it for those 2 to 3 days. Those 3 to 4 days. Okay, just make sure that you could put your 100%. Otherwise, when you come back and you'll say to yourself, I spent my money. Have I changed? What have I gained? Ahsan, thank you very much.
Is it?
No, I think it's a personal question about wheelchairs, and that I said to us.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
It's an organization.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. I'd like to just thank our speakers today. Sheikh Abbas, thank you very much. Masma Bai, thank you very much. And Dr. Nisar as well. Thank you very much for all your help today. And special thanks to Zain as well for the beautiful recitation of Quran today. I think that's it for the seminar today. Just if you have any questions, please do contact your group leads and they will be happy to answer. Some of us are around today, so if you want to speak to us directly, please do so. In terms of the plan for the rest of today, we'll have namaz shortly, so please prepare for namaz and then we'll serve niyaz after that. Just one announcement for Hujjaj for EHM. Brother Aliaska Hussein, please can you see me? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I mentioned about the ihram for men, that unless there is a reason you want to take a sentimental ihram with you from here, one that belonged to someone, and do it, etc. We normally get ihram in Medina, but I mentioned it's $30. It's actually 30 riyals, so it's more like about $10 or so. So it's not particularly expensive, and widely available. You know, everybody has them there. So that was just something to correct. Yeah. Yeah. So we could have Zihad.
Yes,
now? Yeah, please. Yeah, HSC guys, everybody on HSC should have filled the medical form on Telegram and should also have joined Telegram in the first place. Okay, that is the place where everything is going to be shared pre-Hajj, post-Hajj, during Hajj and after Hajj. I understand, Imran Ghulam said, is everybody on? Ke thoda miss tha hai? 20 are missing. Oh, 20 worldwide are missing, inshallah. So out of 240, 20 are missing. It's vital that you put your medical data on there so the GP, the doctor who's traveling with us, Dr. Muntazir Ghulam, knows what he's dealing with you. It's privately, it only goes to him. Okay, so please, thank you very much.
Yes, I'll just turning out the evaluation forms. Please do complete them. Just leave them on the desk behind. Your feedback will be really helpful. Thank you. If you could rise for Ziyarat, please.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah. Assalamu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Assalamu alayka ya Fatimatu Zahra. Assalamu alayka ya Hasanul Mujtaba. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن عجل الله تعالى فرجك واستحل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته.